sound problems on my end. All right. First off, as always, we test sound just to make sure y'all can hear us loud and clear. I definitely want people to hear this conversation that we're about to have, because I think it's very important, and it speaks to definitely Black men in IT, definitely Black men in higher paying jobs, Black men in Black men in higher paying jobs, definitely Black men networking, Black men also dealing with things like even imposter syndrome and the little racist that you have in your head that somehow becomes your boss, and you start to think that, if you get a critique, how Black people are a little bit sometimes more sensitive to critique in these areas. And it's just a real thing. For some people, they're like, well, he didn't think that, he didn't say that. But sadly, emotionally speaking, we do go through these things as Black people in technology and higher paying jobs, engineering jobs, and things like that, where you automatically gel as soon as you see another Black person on your team. You like, you drink Henny, right. Stuff like that. So I do want to introduce our brother Richard Dixon, who has broken into IT. You know what I mean? Like, he did his thing. He put in the work. He put in the time. And he's done live coding sessions with me where I helped him out on one or two things. And after this, we'll let him talk. But this is somebody that has really been working hard in the background, doing the work by himself, for himself, and also networking and working with other people. He's known, especially in the comment section, in the chat of Black Brain Trust, BGS Idmore, and other places. So he is definitely a brother that's been in the space for a long period of time. And there's a lot of things I didn't know about him either. So, Richard, man, hey, listen, man, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about it, and we'll really get into the conversation.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. So, my name Richard. A lot of y'all know me for always hanging out, all the different channels, Black Brain Trust. I used to be some BGS panels back in the day. Just everywhere. I just watching the space. I always was even I have my criticisms, but I did enjoy the idea of brothers actually having a space and actually just looking at everything in society, from top to bottom, and seeing coming at it like a think tank type of aspect. I think Black Brain Trust embodied that the best out of all the channels I've encountered. But
and then, so that brings up one of the first questions before we get a little bit into your background, because there's certain things you shared with me that, again, you don't necessarily have to share here, but I think it adds to your quote unquote origin story, and the spice and the flavor of it all in terms of your success, the dish you call success of breaking into IT. But how do you feel about the Black Brain Trust? Actually, not Black Brain Trust, but the space as a whole. Are there enough Black Brain Trusts? Did Black Brain Trust do it enough or do it well enough? Are there other things that you would like to have seen from channels like that, or even channels like myself, so we can make improvements to get more people to break into the space?
I think it was always a conflicted ass, I was always kind of conflicted about it. Overall, I did like it more. Even though it was certain things I didn't like. I will say, though, I think it's kind of ironic that, the criticisms that the space has is it really just shows how bad the situation really is, because it shows that even though we try to analyze this like we're independent from it, we've all are grown up in the society. It influences us too. I'm gonna use some of the terms.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the situation, like name it specifically? And peace to Dollar Will. Appreciate you joining us.
I think
the community, or
I know that the main thesis in the space, is the understanding, which I actually credit this space of actually enlightened me to. I actually never really thought about, Black America as, you know, kind of a matriarchy. I know they use the term, you know, gynocracy and stuff like that. But I, you know, actually looking at it, I actually agree with that assessment. Just thinking about not just, you know, personal life, just analyzing, you know, how our society operates in the grand scheme of things. And, I think that's the greatest thing that the space did. Now, what then happened, I think, over time is, but that assessment is true, and the space is falling victim because of that, because that assessment is true. Like, we're not independent of the matriarchy. Like, we all done grown up in this. So if Black men don't have actual institutional power, you don't really have any collective leverage. Yeah, some of us are doing well, but nothing operates on an individual level. Everybody's operating as groups.
Right.
So, and I think a lot of that dysfunction plays out in the space. Like, I think a lot of times brothers forget that.
So you're saying it would be nice to have more organizations and more collectives and groups and spaces where, you know, Black men, you're one of us now, but Black men of our ilk, so to speak. Black men, you know, with pushing up their glasses and pocket protectors and walking around talking in the King's English or whatever, and talking proper. But Sheed, I appreciate you being here, brother, as always. But having more organizations, that's kind of one of your things that you would like to see.
More organizations. Also, I think taking it to another level. I think, you know, a lot of people, you know, a lot of the terms I've heard over the years, you know, let it burn and, you know, other sensationalist stuff that, you know, but optimistic I am. I got my pessimistic side too. I actually agree with, you know, some of those assessments. That's why a lot of chats over the years, you know, I always was talking about. I think I lean more towards Black nationalism, Pan-Africanism, and I think we can't allow our frustrations with our standing in American society frustrate us from really taking control. You know, I done told you before, like, we're going to have to create the Black people that we want to see. You know, nobody else is going to do it. Like, we're Black, we're going to have to do it. Like,
and do it here. And I think you said in our personal conversations, also saying doing it on the continent, right? On the continent.
If we come to the understanding that we've lost here, like, I think, you know, brothers gonna have to get on some pilgrimage shit, you know, not just on the individual level, but it needs to be more of a collective level, looking at it from a social engineering aspect, you know, brothers being a little more aggressive collectively. You know, everybody else is being aggressive out here in the world, you know. It's deeper than just, you know, just getting a job and just getting some money thinking I'm gonna be okay. Other groups want to make Black men as mules. You know, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, and like Dollar Will said something important here, or a good assessment is we got too many free agents out here. And, you know, this comes up because I was just listening to a stream from Ed. I always catch up on him, Grinch, BGS, and other people in the space, just to kind of get my daily dose in a sense. And, you know, everyone's leaving the space. Everyone's leaving the manosphere. Everyone's separating and, you know, going their own way, so to speak, you know, like, and it's kind of crazy where now people don't necessarily claim the space outright, and it's the audience that usually puts them in these spaces usually, or in these groups or groupings. But it's crazy when you're not a part of the space, but yet somehow, some way, you're going to be talking about the same subjects that are in the space. You know, like whatever the trending topic is or what have you. So a lot of people, like again, back to what Dollar Will is saying and bringing it back home, you know, a lot of people are free agents, but yet somehow they playing on the same, they reading from the same playbook, which gets me a little bit. And the reason why I bring this up too is that, you know, this is the lack of group, the loose federation, if you will, you know, that we have, where we're not really a bit of any group.
Right. And
I'm sorry, Dollywood says, he's talking about building. That means time, work, sacrifice, and delayed gratification. And listen, this is what we're here to celebrate. And I'll let Richard get into it, but he put in the work, and we were talking before this, and talking about the work that you have to put in. And also peace to brother Trey as well. I appreciate you, brother, for joining. But go ahead, Rich.
No, you definitely right, man. And I think brothers just got kind of used to that type of way our group kind of functions, and it's a shame, man. And I think over time though, I think we will get past that. I really came to the conclusion that I got outside of kind of like that, African American kind of arrogance and exceptionalism. I actually think it's really going to be the Africans to save us. Actually, a lot of people think it's going to be the other way around. I think it's going to be the opposite.
I want to say, well, you know what? Talking from surface level and some of the things that I'm seeing about, Neo-Africa, as I like to call it, that is not something I've heard anywhere else, but we'll call it Neo-Africa. But we're seeing the new or Neo-Afro, if you will, culture. But we're seeing the new Black culture spring up in Africa, and it's just our Black culture. And then I guess, it's like our Black culture meets the Kardashians. It's just like, I'm seeing it show up because they're having actual shows about this, which is crazy. I'll let you get your piece on that, and then we'll move on with talking more about you. Right. I know what you want from the space, and what are some of the things and the problems that we have. But now it's like, let's talk about more about you and what you did to get here, actually.
Okay, yeah. Well, transition that from a personal journey. So when I was first listening to the space, I wasn't studying just yet. Well, I might as well go into my background. So I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I'm in Orlando now. But I started listening to the space because, I go ahead and put everything out there. I had just got out of prison. And and I just had my cell phone. I was at like this transition house. And, it was just always, late at night, after, the transition house duties and, all those, the program stuff they had us doing. It was just, just kind of combing through YouTube all the time. That was kind of like, Rich when I first got out. I was just going to the library all the time, checking out books.
What year is this?
This was 2016. I got
okay. Yeah. And how long were you actually in? I guess, is it prison or jail? Like, I don't know how they say.
Yeah, I was in prison for 5 years. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was in that transition house I was in there for a year. Yeah.
Over and I got like a freaking 2 of my chickens going at it.
Oh yeah.
Out there, like
I had saw the video with your chickens and stuff. Yeah. I guess the camera posted up.
Yeah. So sorry, you said you were at the transition house doing the programs and reading up, and like, what was your thought? What was your thought? What was your direction? What was your vision? And is this what you're seeing now? Is this actually a part of that initial vision?
Actually, yeah, this was part of my vision. My Black nationalist, Pan-Africanist leaning started in prison. Me reading a lot about tech. I wouldn't say that started in prison. My mom's side of the family, a lot of them are in tech. So actually, I was supposed to always been in tech. When I was supposed to go straight into networking when I graduated high school. All my uncles was trying to get me prepared. They were sending me materials, but I was kind of being a knucklehead and didn't take it seriously. Yeah, so most of them are in the Cisco. They deal with like the Cisco networking. They got this Cisco search. They've been dealing with that for years now, most of my life. So
yeah, so they're network engineers and stuff like that, communications. Yeah, and that brings up a good or that segues into this question. She'd asked, or She'd We Hear asks, who introduced you to the Manosphere And I guess like, you know, what was, you know, with that introduction to the Manosphere, you know, how did that lead you on your path?
Nobody introduced me. It kind of just, the algorithm just kind of just worked that way. You know, I know some of the first channels I was listening to was like Search for Huru, you know, Diana Samir channel. O'Shea, he had the Rumbles back there. I ran across Obsidian. I think his panels was a lot better back then. Never cared for him. Hit a lot of his viewpoints personally. I liked it more of the other panelists over there.
Oh, so like Nagone and stuff.
Yeah,
like
Nagone. Yeah. I liked more of their viewpoints on some certain things.
Yeah, because I think even Dollar Will was in those panels with Obsidian. I believe I could be wrong. I knew Dollar Will from, of course, BGS, but okay.
Yeah, BGS panels too. Angry Man. Angry Man was he was doing more of the panels back then. You know, everybody, you know, I learned a lot over the years from everybody, even people, you know, maybe I disagreed with. You know, I'm not gonna hold no grudges or nothing. I think overall, I think I would like to think everyone was trying to come from a good place.
Yeah.
And trying to, you know, do the best what they know and try to help out.
And I will say this, and I've talked to you about it as well, because I didn't know about your time in prison. But I will say, like, you know, even I've grown from those days of like 2017 is when I really got to the black side of things. 2015 is when I got into like MGTOW. 2014, 2015. But the whole thing about Pookie and looking down upon them or looking at them with disdain, you know, in some cases you would be considered that. And I'm only saying this because it adds to your story in a sense, and or the dish known as your story, or the dish known as success here for you, in terms of like, okay, coming from a time in prison, and then now you're looking at, you know, you're doing coding and IT and stuff like that. I think that's like a really big thing, and we'll get into what you're exactly doing as much as you can give up. But I think that's like a really not to be disrespectful, but like, you know, rags to riches story, you know, where you're coming from like a point where, you know, it's not a good place, and then now you're a lot better, a lot farther on than even some of your own counterparts.
Right.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's actually, you know, I actually was always there for a lot of those debates, you know, either comment in the chat. And you wouldn't know if I was a so-called puka unless I really told you. Because a lot of the points I would be bringing, I never came off like talking real crazy. Like I always was coming from, you know, reading tech, you know, paying attention to what's going on geopolitically, stuff like that. Like I done read all type of stuff. I'm always reading, you know. I'm looking at my library shelf. I'm active reading, not just, you know, they're not just up there for decoration, you know.
Yeah, what is on your shelf? Can you give us a little view into that? Drop a couple name or titles.
I'm currently reading. Reading Journey of Hope by Kenneth C. Barnes, the Back to Africa movement in Arkansas in the late 1800s, and it's talking about how South Carolina. The book's focused mostly on Arkansas. But South Carolina and Arkansas was like the locations of the hugest migrations back to Africa. And it's really just going into all in the weeds and the details of why that was going on. And it's just deja vu reading it too, because, you know, just a lot of the political violence that was going on. Like Congressional Black Caucus is nothing really. Like we always had black elected officials, you know, they was either getting ran out of town or, you know, getting killed.
Or not allowed to.
White liberals kind of looking the other way, even though they not really with the violence. You know, it's, you know, y'all need to stop doing that, but you really no real help.
Yeah.
You know? Like it's just this, it's deja vu. It's just the same stuff over, and I'm just reading. I'm just like, this is the same shit today. Like nothing changed.
And then, how like, you know, knowing that, you know, those bits of the playbook, how does that shape or direct you now in terms of your overall vision of, you know, doing things back on the continent, doing things here and on the continent?
Yeah, it's really just showing me that I'm going to be able to do it now. So yeah, I'm definitely just I'm focused on, you know, first things first, just get some trips over to Africa. I got some grand ideas and stuff, but I think the first thing is just going over there, networking. That's my main focus out of everything. Like I got to get over there. Like I think the conclusion the space came from, and combined with other readings, you know, I've been having over the years. I just think, yeah, Africa is the future, and but yeah, I don't want to stay on that. I know everybody don't want to, you know, for some reason, some people don't want to hear about Africa. So I go into some of the other stuff. Mm-hmm. I go into some of the other stuff that's on the show. That's what I'm currently reading now. Some other stuff I have read, I have Steven Pinker, Better Angels of Our Nature, Why Violence Has Declined, The GOAT, Dr. Amos Wilson, Blueprint for Black Power. Mm-hmm. I got Homo Deuce by Yuval Noah. I can't pronounce his last name, but he wrote the Sapiens book. That dude, he's real known for that.
And peace to Mike V. But you know, this makes sense in terms of when you talk about what you want to see from the space in terms of more organization. You want to see more brotherhood. You also want to see more male spaces where men can actually grow and quote unquote do more. So yeah, that speaks to that. That speaks to that a great deal, and that's a great vision to have. And we'll get a little bit into, you know, your IT side of things, but let's talk a little bit about your plan of doing that and how you want to probably even mix in IT, or how do you want to break into that in terms of moving over into, you know, over onto the continent and following some of these things in terms of your vision.
Well, I think I'm going to just keep going, networking with, you know, of course, you know, I'm all about, you know, building up the brothers and stuff. But I see I see that I'm out to network with other people. I mean, networking with other people is what actually, you know, got me employed.
Right.
I hate to say it. I think a lot of times, you know, a lot of brothers can't really help out too much. It goes back to we not really operating as a group.
Yeah, you know what? And that's really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm seeing, you know, we can go into a lot of stuff. You know, I mean, I'm on Twitter. I'm in groups. I see who is making the moves. I just keep my mouth shut. Mm-hmm. You know, it just play the game. You know, I wish it wasn't like that, but yeah, I think, you know, I'm gonna have to operate with other groups to get what I need to do and to see what I want to see. I know I'm not going to see that here.
Well,
I'm gonna have to go somewhere else to see that.
Are you gonna, like, you know, and that gets into like, are you gonna wait to see it, or are you gonna actually show it to yourself? And what are your thoughts on that?
I think I can show it to myself. I think it's already happening. You know, y'all talk about that a lot. Yeah. What's going on the continent? I think you can go to a place and see brothers having control over the environment. Of course, there's going to be issues everywhere. I mean, no society is standing without these issues. But I think, you know, there's places where I think we can get a lot more farther ahead. My plan is eventually maybe start my own company, of course. You know, do something. That's thinking a little too far ahead. I think, like I said, the first thing is just going over there, you know, and just networking. You know, I might see a problem. I can say what I'm going to do, but you might see another problem, and that might be the need to jump on that and move forward on that than what I'm thinking of moving forward with. So.
And well, this is where I hope people like Mike V, who I invited to this, and Dan Tuku, who I invited to this as well. But Dan is always, like, you know, he's usually He's usually out there. You know, he's a cybersecurity manager, I believe, as well. But you know, this is where I'd like to, you know, definitely have somebody like Mike V or anybody else. If not this bit of content here or this stream, another stream would be great.
Yeah, I agree. I would like to hear. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, I know he can speak to that better than most people.
So. Listen, Dollar Will, I really do not appreciate this bit of banter because I took that seriously, and then I read the end of it. I went to the strip club and a business opportunity meeting broke out. Not like, you know, listen, bro. I mean, you know, that's disrespectful. As a pro trick, you know, I'm disappointed in you for bringing that to this channel, and I think that's very hurtful and should be considered hate speech, plain and simple. Anyways, moving on. But and you know, I might be down in your area maybe this weekend. I might be in Deltona. Yeah, I might be in Deltona this weekend. If not this weekend, probably next or something. We'll see. But I'll let you know. Okay. So with that being said, you know, there's meeting places. Let's talk about how you actually broke into the industry, how this all got started, and the work that you put in. Let's really get into the nitty gritty about you breaking into IT.
Right. Yep. So I was keeping up with a lot of the, innovation going on in the industry while I was locked up and all. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about, I should have been in the industry. I'm going through all this bullshit. I inflicted kind of on myself. And even when I got out, didn't have time. Like I said, I had to go through the programs, transition programs. But after I got a little more situated, I was I was an electrician around the time. Okay. And started doing some more reading.
What level did you reach in your electrician journey? Like apprentice, journeyman, or just laborer?
I was an apprentice. So yeah, I did a lot of work. I probably did even work considered probably journeyman style work. It wasn't like I was just like the dude had in. Basically, I was an apprentice, but I didn't have the journeyman. I just didn't have the journeyman certification, which I was going to school to get that. I was in the school for a while to get the. I was in the feet classes down here. You probably know about the feet classes.
No, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't know that.
Okay, yeah, so that's the Florida Electrical Apprenticeship training. Yeah, but it's 4 years. It's like you're going to college, so they don't give you the journeyman. Because I actually was thinking about just sticking with that.
Can you talk about that program for other brothers that are electricians or what's it called? They want to become electricians sooner or later. Like, what is that program? What does it entail? What is it?
Yeah, I love the trades. I think the electrical trade is probably one of the best out of all of them.
No, but
I learned a lot there. I still got all my power tools.
No, the fleet program in particular. I just want to know a little bit more about that.
So most companies are partnered with the feet program. So you can, and this was like my first job when I was at the transition program. So you can go to a company in Florida, most likely it's probably partner with the program. Mm-hmm. They'll pay for your entire schooling. All you have to do is go to the school. You have like this paperwork where you have to show that you're still working. Now, if you don't, like if you get fired or laid off, then the schooling stops. Mm-hmm. Hey, what's up, bro?
Yeah, keep it techy. I appreciate you, brother. And keep it techy. Let me know if you want me to drop the link. I don't know if you have time. I know you're a busy man. But go ahead. So yeah, about this program, they offer, they pay for your schooling. It's I guess it's government work subsidized or something like that. Mm-hmm. Program.
Yeah. Okay. And a lot of times when the trades is always high. Like I don't understand how dudes even go without a job these days. Like I've been employed my entire time since 2016, since I've been out.
Wow.
From electrical to sales, customer service, tech support, to right now my official role is systems engineer. So
oh wow. Hey man, that's That's pretty big. So now, okay, transitioning from doing the electrical stuff, now what was the beginning for the IT stuff? Like, how did that happen? Was it you ran an Ethernet cable and you just saw the light? Like, what happened?
Oh no, no. Well, I've always been a reader. Like I say, and just talking to with my uncles and my cousins. My other uncle on my dad's side, he's real smart. I mean, I used to be over his house. I would watch him do stuff. I actually never got hands-on myself. Now, I always been computer literate, just navigating the computer. But yeah, I never actually, did any coding when I was younger. I never did any like real, hardcore troubleshooting. Nothing like that. But me getting hands-on after doing some reading, my first venture of really getting my hands dirty was actually shout out SubZero. You know what I'm saying? So that was one of my first channels too, in the space. So yeah, I paid for the program with SubZero, which he still does right now. SubZero 3639.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so SubZero 3639. Anyone listening, that's the channel for SubZero. I mean, he talks about a lot of crazy shit over there, but he runs a good course dealing with SQL Server. So you'll learn everything about SQL Server, all the Microsoft Business Intelligence tools, SSIS, SSRS. So that was my foundation. Like even that time with SubZero actually helped me get this job. Speaking on that, well, okay, because I'm gonna be dealing with a lot of database stuff. So
I want to delve deeper into the SubZero piece of it, because he's definitely a person that has mentored a lot of people in this space that want to know more information, has his course, and actually develops talent. So if you can go into a little bit more slight infomercial of what SubZero does, that would be great. And I think it's just another way we could drive traffic and eyes and ears to a person like a SubZero.
Right. Yeah.
So you're one of his initiates here, man.
Yeah, right. Definitely. Yeah, I'm proud to say that. Yeah, Sub, you show a lot of love. But yeah, so what he does, I think it's different now. It did kind of evolve. I remember I was talking we was talking about it. I haven't talked to him in a little minute, but I know the course has evolved somewhat.
Okay.
But I know that initially when I think I was his very first class. Like it was a small group even back then. It was kind of like him, I think he was trying to figure it out himself too.
Right.
But it was just focusing on straight to the basics, learning SQL, select statements, learning joins. I mean, it got advanced though. Like he taught everything. Like he joins, sub queries. Recursive CTEs, that's one of the most advanced, concepts dealing with SQL. We always talked about if you can speak to that in the interview, you probably guarantee the job, kind of.
Can you? Okay, so I recursive CTEs, I do not know about anything like that. I do know the basics of relational databases. I'm more of a NoSQL database person, so I use MongoDB myself. But I know about the select statements, join statements, inner joins, and the different types. But what is the recursive CT, like CTs or CTEs?
Yeah, common table expression. So
okay. Also, like regular expressions for tables.
Right. So recursive CTE, I'm trying to remember the syntax for it. So it's basically you're doing like a union all on two different queries. And it's using the alias and I can't even remember. I haven't dealt with that shit. So I know the basis of it is let me pull it up real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up myself.
I got my SQL folder right here.
And hey, listen, this is not just because you didn't remember doesn't mean SubZero didn't teach it well, guys. Just putting that out there.
He gives you a lot. There's no way you're gonna be coming up with all that stuff top of your head.
Yeah,
it's an in-depth course. That's really what I want to. You get what you pay for,
right.
Like it ain't like no bullshit.
And it's worth it.
If you don't get a job, it's probably something on on the person's part. But which was, in my fact, that was, why I didn't, it was on me. I didn't get a job back then. It took me years to get to this point.
Right.
I was looking at everybody else in my group get jobs, but I couldn't get mad. I'm the one got a record. That's on me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So
I was one of the best in the group. That was from what he said. So
wow, really?
Yeah.
And and that
I think it was on. I can honestly say it was on like a couple of people I can name that was sharp. I think that that was sharper than me on the stuff.
Well, and that goes to brothers with records, and then also that fighting that uphill battle to change that, and why it's also good for people like Richard, SubZero, myself to always reach back to talk to these brothers. And I'm not saying reach back and just talk to anybody, but reach back and talk to the ones that actually want to get on the boat and make it to a different shore. And that's kind of what you have to do to weed people out. You do have to weed people out over time and not give everyone your energy. So you can see where somebody like a Richard, he definitely, SubZero really reached back. I'm sure he got paid. He got paid for it and everything, but he does really reach back and help other brothers in his own way. And it gets funded, which is a good part of it. We should be funding these different types of programs. And as you can hear, it was well worth it. Yeah, but this is what happens.
Definitely well worth it.
People alone.
Yeah, definitely well worth it. Yeah, even though I didn't get a job, still the knowledge still helps me out today.
Yeah,
even though I didn't, I would have liked it, to be, hanging out with, out of the first group, everybody was, swinging and banging, balling out,
Yeah.
I had to still, they still keep up with me. I was talking to one of them, I still keep up with Mar. He was out that group too.
Yeah.
He was happy for me. He's like, man, you finally made it. He's like, man, we've been waiting for you, man. They knew. It wasn't like I didn't know the material stuff.
Yeah.
It was just
like, waiting for you at the pearly gates.
Yeah.
So a little bit about what are CTEs. The CTE, common table expression, also known as the with clause. Okay, I've done with clauses. Okay, I know a little bit more than I thought I did, I guess. Is an SQL feature that returns a temporary data set that can be used by another query as it's a temporary result. It's not stored anywhere, but it still can be referenced like you would reference any other table. There are two types of CTEs, non-recursive and recursive.
Recursive, right.
Oh, all right. That's good to know. And, so again, talking about those high level statements and those high level methodologies in these different processes and how it helped you, talk about your study habits in terms of learning those and, actually committing some of those to memory to where it helped you get a job.
Yeah. So I do my best try to, I'm at the point now. Yeah, I think at first I was studying every day. Like, I think I was way more hardcore in my studies in the first couple of years. I can't lie. I got kind of discouraged these last, last couple of years. It really took a lot to push through to get to this point.
Wow.
Because I wasn't studying every day. To study was like a real struggle, like these last couple.
They say the race is always hardest at the end, man.
Yeah,
right.
It really was. And the only thing that would push me through is because my network. Even coming to some panels and trying like Black Branch was actually giving me a lot of encouragement. Mike V and them probably don't know it, but just. Coming, just hearing brothers, talk about space, talking about Ted, hear a word from me every now and then. Just talking in chat, I just love, I always felt better in the chat. I never cared about getting on panels all the time anyway. Like, I felt like, for one, I could just a dude out of prison. Like I always respected people with knowledge. Even when I was foolish, I always know when someone knows what they're talking about. I do got some type of foundation of knowledge, reading and stuff. So I know when someone knows what they're talking about. I can listen to someone in the meeting and kind of tell.
And that's powerful because one, you don't know who's listening and you don't know what that person's that's listening is what the content and your talking and everything, what that does for them, you know? And I think it's very important that we, even though, like, for instance, I'll do my streams and sometimes there'll be nobody at all, like, and you know, live, it'll be like 0 for like 2-hour, 3-hour stream, right? Maddox 12, hey man, another brother, a part of the group and everything like that, man. I appreciate you, part of the group, the organization, the Black Brain Trust,
right.
You know, other groups as well. And of course, shout out to Mike V. Shout out to what's it called? Lionel, Dollar Will.
Will Complex. Nagon's always right there.
Yeah,
a lot of other people. Maddox was always up there. Keep it techy too.
Yeah, for sure. And especially like people like Keep It Techie, man. Like, you know, I used to see some of his Linux videos, and for me, it was just like, oh wow, that's cool. You know, somebody's doing that, because I mean, I've done Linux for years. So I wouldn't say I watched him or anything, but then you start to see like the expansion of his channel into other areas and expanding more into tech and starting to have higher level conversations with higher level minds and things like that, which is beautiful, because now you're starting to see like, okay, there's somebody that looks like me, you know, has the dread. Well, now I have dreads, but like, you know, looks like me, and they're doing the same thing that I want to do, you know, and that's like that's the beauty of this space. So yeah, we can talk to that, man. Like, you know, talked about SubZero, so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's what I always loved about, you know, like I say, SubZero. Like those early days, like you always, you know, because that's what kept me from so long getting my hands dirty, actually trying, you know, code and getting your hands dirty. Even though I had family that was doing it, I actually never saw them doing it. Like I seen like my dad brother who lived close by. I would see him mess with some computers a little bit, but it was more to like kind of like just A+ troubleshooting type stuff.
Okay.
No, like he was just known for fixing people's, you know, computers. It wasn't nothing really super high level, and I was just so distracted around at the time anyway.
Yeah.
But even with that, I still feel like I can't do it, and I think the families didn't push. I can't say that. Come on, my mom's brothers, they really did try to help me.
Mentally you weren't ready.
Yeah, I just wasn't there
to accept or receive it.
And I think that's the power of how dysfunctional our culture is, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I came to grips with, you know, I had a lot of fun over the years, but you know, I came to grips that this stuff ain't really pushing us forward. This, some stuff I might like, but you know, I done got to the point where I'm like, you know, I'm really looking at a lot of this shit now. And,
so you know that brings up a great point, because it's like that's another part of the hard work. Back to Dollar Will's statement. Somebody talking about building, hard work, you know, sacrifice, delayed gratification. A lot of it is sometimes like, I can't listen to the stream today. I can't care what, you know, this person is doing in the space or the commentary of this space about, you know, X, Y, and Z.
You're bringing up some real. That's actually because this space is addictive to conversation, because there's nowhere else like this.
Yeah,
like I said, so
once you get hooked in, it's like you can't even go to you almost feel like you can't even go to your barbershop and talk about this shit. So you have to come here to talk about it, because people don't understand red pill, strags, what's it called? Moynihan report. Nobody's talking like this, you know? So it becomes very addictive.
The space is addictive. Like, you know, but I had to do a lot of that. I turn that shit off. And I don't know if maybe because I was locked up for a while, like I'm nowhere near social as before when I went in. Like, you know, I was all about, you know, hanging out. But I had to cut off my entire social circle. That's like why I'm dying in Orlando.
Listen,
I don't think I would even be able to do all what I did if I was still in Jacksonville. Like, that's just everybody knows Jacksonville is known right now. Like,
for wild shit.
Strictly just straight up wild.
Yeah, like it's like the new Miami of Florida.
Yeah, Jacksonville is like, it's a mess, man.
But you know, it's
anti-call hold.
Yeah, it's like it's crazy because a couple months ago, man, it was not August, September, October. I cut off a lot of groups. Like I was in Edward's private Telegram. I was in 2 different WhatsApp groups. I was on Plenty of Fish a lot, and I hadn't even been on any of other social media. I had to cut back on the listening of the content that I was actually listening to on YouTube, just so I can move from, again, a job where you talk about having a network and people that can get you jobs. My old business partner had got me a job paying 75 grand a year. Then I was like, okay, I need to make more. I want to make more. I want to do more. And I can't work another job because I'm getting freaking old. So I get tired. You know, I don't have the energy like I used to. And then now it's like, okay, what do I have to do to get to that point? And a part of it was cutting stuff off. So it goes to what you were just talking about.
Right. And that was real tough too, man, because you know, cutting off, had to cut off a lot of stuff that actually led, kind of getting women. Like, just had to cut off friends, just being real, wasn't really getting the women like that no more.
Yeah.
Like it's because I just wasn't making the money. Back then, I wasn't making a lot of money back then before I went to prison, I was always just working warehouse jobs, but of course, dudes be selling drugs, a lot of times it revolves around women. You want to have the extra money so you can, kind of hang out and kind of, have money to kind of do what you want to do.
Yeah, a lot of these women, they got money to do their hair, their nails, and buy some weed. Like it'd be crazy. But somehow they giving you that call. Can you help me with my bill?
And I see why. And of course, dudes want to have women. I think that's another thing that kind of
that pressures a lot of dudes.
Hurts a lot of dudes because that was tough. I easily could have went back into that very easily. Like my car brother was like super strong. I could have got whatever I want.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I'm not gonna lie, and I talk about tricking a lot in terms of just like hey, how you should value women and how tricking helps with my valuation of women. Because after a while, it's like, hey, listen, I can get that anywhere. I can buy that. Like I could buy something at Starbucks. So you're gonna have to come with more. Right. So, but I'm not going to lie. And I don't think I've really talked about this, but you'd have like withdrawals where it's just like, yo, you feel real bad when you ain't got no money. You can't buy no food or anything. Like all you can buy is food and handle your bills and you barely handling that. And then, you trying to then you thinking about.
That's where that was where I was at. And I was not,
Friday,
that was a struggle, bro.
Friday and Saturday nights.
Because I know what I could have been doing.
Yeah.
That's why I say I don't think I would. It would have been. Everybody has a breaking point, and I think it would have been too much temptation to try to do what I did. Like I had to really become, like you say, kind of like monk mode for real.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have been able to went monk mode in Jacksonville. It would have been impossible.
Yeah, because it's too familiar of an environment. It's really hard to change your mindset in the same environment. It's extremely hard. And it shows how it goes to your strength. And, this is a great comment by Dollar Will, and I wanted to get back to it. We got to update our flawed mental software that says success looks like someone other than us. And that's the truth because, a part of the success that looks like someone else other than us, sometimes we might see them out at a nice restaurant. We might see them at a car dealership or in a nice vehicle, or doing all the things that we would like to do on TV or all these social media apps, but we don't know what they went through or what they did or the environment that they live in. Sometimes people live in environments that are that make it easy for them to make these transitions. Whereas we as Black people, I won't say that I lived in a good environment, but at the same time, culturally speaking, what was my world like? I could live in a predominantly white area, but then where do I go to clubs? Where do I go out? Who do I actually talk to? Things like that. And that really influences how your worldview and that creates something where it's like, why would I have almost like, and it wasn't that serious. It was just like, you'd be on a Friday night and you'd be like semi-depressed because you can't go out. and all you can afford is your Netflix, or you know, the partial payments that you're making on somebody else's Netflix account, and then all you could watch is Netflix because you ain't got money to do shit else. You know, so that's a big thing, because it's like, why did I have to have that mental fight? What does that say about me? What does that say about the environment that I was that I actually put myself through?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree, bro. And that goes to what, like you say, what Dollar Will was saying. You know, delayed gratification, sacrifice. I never did it, and I never had to do it before. I probably should have, you know what I'm saying, probably should have did it when I was younger. I don't know though. I think at this point I'm kind of glad everything happened the way it kind of happened the way it did. I learned a lot about myself, and I think I got a good view of our people.
Okay.
Still got a lot to learn. I think top to bottom. You know, I want to know everything about our people, top to bottom. You know, because I didn't have to do a lot of stuff I was doing. It wasn't like I grew up hurting. You know, I got both of my parents, and it ain't like I came from no fucked up family, no shit like that. I come from actually a good family. And actually, that's another thing too that helped me transition. It would have been super tough doing it without my family, you know.
Yeah, if you didn't have those role models such as your uncles working in networking and things like that.
Yeah, my uncles, just somewhere to go. You know, I didn't have, you know, I got my apartment, but you know, I didn't have, you know, like I say, getting out of prison, you got something to fall on. You know, my people didn't, you know, let me fall by the wayside, you know.
Yeah, and it's beautiful
transition. You know, my dad.
You know, it's crazy. A lot of people talk about the celebration of Pookie coming back home versus the celebration of the EL coming back from college. And one thing I did learn about even my own family life, and again, it's like, you know, it's the EL jealousy to a certain extent. And I'll just name it that. It's crude. It is whatever. Feel how you want to feel about that. But sometimes you have to have those celebrations because the people that you perceive as strong are the weak ones. They are the ones that need the most help. They're the ones that actually need that uplifting and so on and so forth and being watched out for. One thing I learned at when I was in college, my first year of college was back, 2004? Yeah, 2004, 2005. My mom said, you know, oh, Mike doesn't need any help. Like, you know, Mike always, you know, he always takes care of himself. And I used to be like, well, I want attention too. But then you start to learn that, you know, somebody like maybe like my brother needed more help or something like that. And if I didn't need help, you can't complain or get mad at the parent that doesn't give you that type of attention. They're not giving you that type of attention because they don't like you, or these people don't give you this attention because they don't like you. They also, a part of it is that they know that you also don't need it. Like, you're just so like, and I wish people would talk about this a little bit more, or within the family, not like in the space, but talk about it in the family and having conversations. Oh, and this will be a good one, Trey. And sorry, we're going in so many different ways, but talk about this where, what's it called? Where, hey, listen, I didn't help you because I didn't love you. I helped you because you didn't need it. And that's a big thing. And we'll get into Trey's question after this. What were your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, we all have our strong and weak points. I think I look at No Man. I don't know. I'm kind of the Pookie educated lane stuff. Like, it just never makes sense to me. Kind of.
Well,
like,
we don't have to go too deep into it, but I just say that because some people don't understand the reason why certain people get help and other people don't. It's not shallow as they liked him more or something like that. But you can go into it though. I'm sorry.
Because I know, well, I'm just thinking about like dudes in the neighborhood. Like, and even though that neighborhood is pretty rough, but everybody around there wasn't wild. Like, a bunch of dudes I know Like you had a bunch of them dudes that were just straight laced, went to college, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were, you know, they got respect. They you know, they had plenty of women. They just everybody was rocking the same. Right. And maybe I think maybe these conversations might be depending on where people are from too, I think.
Yeah. And it also has to do with I always tell people this is an emotional space. So these conversations, although are illogical, emotionally they make sense. And that's why it resonates with us. This is why they get brought up so much. This is why we have this issue. Now, transitioning or getting to more to the IT stuff. Trey asks, how old were you, Richard, when you made the move to IT? I know you said you got out of jail prison 2016. 27, that wasn't even that far long ago. It was like 8 years ago now, right? But
right. Yeah. So what I started really studying around probably like 18
years old. Okay.
2018. That's what I mean.
Okay, 2018. Okay, and then what age? If you don't mind saying that, if you don't want to say.
I just transitioned. Yeah, I'm 36 now. So
okay. Oh, we the same age.
Yep. Okay, that's what's up. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm 37 this year.
I think.
So you're just.
I think, but my situation doesn't. How I want to put out there. My situation is kind of unique. I don't think it's a lot of, you know what I'm saying, brothers coming out of prison trying to transition to IT, to be honest. So if you don't have a background, you don't have to go through exactly like I went through. Like it can be a lot quicker. Like I'm seeing people, like I told you, like everybody that was in that first group was SubZero. Like almost all of them had got jobs.
And how long? What year was that? I mean,
that was, I want to say 2018. That's when I got my.
Oh, okay. So it's been 6 years since then. 4 years. 4 years since then.
18, 19, 20, 21.
Yeah, 22. Yeah,
that's about right. Yeah, that was a while ago. Like, I've been studying for a while.
Yeah, 4 going on 5 years. Again, a part of Trey, just you've been here, I think, for most of the conversation, but he was behind the 8 ball in terms of his record. So that caused a delay as well. So that can cause a delay, detours, lack of motivation, loss of motivation and wanting to put in the effort to do all these different things. So that causes a delay as well. But one thing I think that you said that was very important, it's really fast to transition into IT. Can you talk about that?
I think so. I think brothers you got to just take that time to just zone in. And you really got to cut everything off. I think too many times people try to, I'm still going to keep doing what I was doing. I'm hanging out. I'm doing other stuff. I got to the point I really don't even watch TV, and I'm just used to it now. Like I don't have a TV in my apartment. It's just laptops and extra monitors. You know what I'm saying? That's it. It ain't.
You're a real cyberpunk.
Yeah, it ain't no why. If I gotta watch something, maybe YouTube. If I want to get some type of, what I'm saying, like entertainment. But I'm turning that shit off after a while and getting back. Maybe reading something. Taking in something that's gonna be more productive for me. But I think it's either you have to take control of your life, or either you want to just keep being a drone, a consumer to everything that's out here. You gotta let a lot of this shit go to move forward.
And I think that's like really important to what you're talking about, where you're gonna have to let that stuff go. A lot of the stuff acts as an anchor, and if you want to go into IT, you really have to delve into it. So let's talk about like some of the things that you had to do to delve into it. What are some of the things that your study habits? And what are some of the tools that you use? I know you talk about SubZero, books, Udemy. I know there's some books, of course, but what was that looking like?
Okay, yeah. So, I go back and touch a little bit more the SubZero class, which I actually was still using. So I was down. I just got rid of it recently. SQL Server. I had just want to clear up some more space on my laptop. But I was using SQL Server tools. I would practice with. I got the book right here.
Yeah, because I know we did a couple.
You can download, you can download databases to practice with, so you can practice like SQL queries, like real complex SQL queries, not simple queries, like real, some real complex kind of statements. Using a lot of joins, sub queries. The book is SQL Practice Problems by SubZero. I'll type it in the chat.
Okay, cool. So it's like, okay, so and then let's talk about your job. And tell us, describe what I won't ask questions, but describe what you can about your job. What is it? What field? Things like that.
Okay.
I know you talk a lot of database stuff, but then you mentioned that you were a systems engineer or an assistant engineer. Sorry, so.
All right, so I'm working for a small startup. Their clients are more manufacturing companies. So, and they got a lot of funding, so they hired me along with a bunch of other people. For the growth, for some of the clients that they just got. So you're using like this manufacturing tool, which is it's called Ignition. So that's one aspect of the job. We're gonna be doing a lot of stuff from what he's been telling me. Okay. So we are using like some GUI tools, and it's actually similar to a lot of the SSIS stuff. So you're using a lot of GUI tools, but I'm going through the training for it right now, and it's a beast of a tool.
Now, is this job supplied training or your own personally funded training?
No, this job supply training.
Okay. Yeah. And talk a little bit more about that. Like, what can you expect from certain companies in terms of learning, the craft or learning what you're actually going to be in? What is your experience so far?
So far, I'm loving it. I ain't, still working. Well, I've been used to the remote lifestyle for a while now, because since COVID, I was working remotely doing like the customer service tech support. So I've been used to that, but it's not phone calls. So I got the best of that world, but not the worst of it. So I'm not on the phone. So like I just been like it's so much in love right now. Like I'm not taking calls. I'm just on my laptop without taking calls. I love it.
And that's the beauty of work from home. Like, I mean, the dream and the nightmare of it, because the dream of it is like, nobody really bothers you or anything else like that. But then the nightmare is, or it's self-paced and all that other stuff. And then the nightmare is it's self-paced and you have to, there's certain things that it's very abstract. It's ambiguous. Somebody says something and then you need to listen in for keys. And it's not something where they're writing it down for you always. Now you can ask for that. But the problem with working from home, especially in engineering, sometimes you have to be very creative. And some people don't understand that, nor can make that transition, if you will, to that mental state or that mindset. Have you experienced that thus far?
Oh, not yeah. I just started this week. Like this is only in the third day. So
okay, congrats. Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, when you sent us the email, that was like I think you were a couple of weeks out or something.
Yeah. So I ain't really doing a whole lot. Like I say, just the training. But like I say, so far I ain't got no complaints. But just to explain a little bit more about my work. So we're gonna be basically manufacturing clients, like I was saying. So it's focusing on like MES, SCADA software. But what the company is looking for, they've been focused on just using this, the software, the Ignition software for so long. They're trying to transition to creating more custom solutions for their clients. So that's why they kind of hired us instead of just people that kind of just training people to use that tool. They want to transition us. Of course, we still use the tool at times, but he want to eventually get to a point where we're just actually just coding because he went into, I know Node. I can yeah, I didn't even mention that. I can deal with React now.
Yeah, Node. Yeah, you were talking about Node. We've talked about Node.js, and that's a lot.
Yeah, I was always dealing with Node when I was coding, which I had never touched the front end hardly at all.
Yeah.
I was telling you I didn't really want to deal with it, but but yeah, I know some React. Definitely, I'm not good at it now.
Okay.
I think I'm still struggling, but I can get something up though. But
okay, but that's cool. Get your little SPAs up, your single page applications, and all that.
Yeah. I didn't know for a long time. I didn't even know how the APIs even connected to the front end. That's how long I stayed away from it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I got it now though. Yeah, you either use Axios or the fetch on the fetch API.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just call. Yeah, you just call the methods. Yeah. So yeah. I love it, man. So I think I still like Node better, but.
Yeah, I love Node, and you can use Axios just about anywhere. So your front end and your back end, you can import it as a library to do all your API calls or your REST API calls. But let's talk about the interview process then. Like, what was that like? And first, how did you? Damn, let's go back a little bit. How did you prep for this job in terms of resume? What did that look like? What was that whole ordeal about? And what are some of the tools or things that you use to make a good resume?
Okay, yeah. So the group I'm in that really helped me kind of get super strong, Underdog Devs. That's a nonprofit group that deals with people with backgrounds to try to, if they see that you've been trying to get in the industry, you got some technical know-how, they'll try to help you out. They ain't trying to make everybody programmers. But yeah, if you got a track record, they'll let you in. But it ain't just easy, but they'll let anybody in the group. It ain't necessarily got to be you got to have a background.
What social media do you have to be on to get into this group or request access?
They're on Twitter, so they always promoting through Twitter. But you can holler at me if you want to. You can do that. You can hit me up. But yeah, so the main thing was, the people that's in charge. A lot of times people just say, create a portfolio, create projects. And people do that, but really they still don't understand what they're dealing with though. And I think I was kind of like that too. You kind of just build and stuff, but maybe you just looked up documentation, looked up everything, but you really don't understand the language. They was about building projects too, but we really focused on you're going to know the language deeply. So we were focused more on practice problems, actually going through leak code, which that was my first time really studying like that. I was kind of like always just reading platform stuff, just reading general tech stuff, general programming stuff. But yeah, I can say it definitely helps. Like I know JavaScript a lot better now because of studying like that. Just knowing certain methods off the top of your head now. Yeah, they was focused on you got to get programming literacy. And when they used to say that, I used to think about Mike V. Mike V actually says that a lot too. Like you got to be program literate. Like you got to get, you got to get the literacy of doing this because I can learn from what they was coming from. You can learn any platform, but actually knowing the language deeply, you're really not going to get that nowhere, especially with the mentors we had there. So they were saying, don't use that time, use your own time, focus on platform stuff. But having someone that really knows programming, just focus on problem solving. And yeah, I think that was a good strategy.
I think what's very important about, I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll do a little bit on Underdog Devs and what they do here. I'd be struggle streaming when it comes to the quality of everything. So excuse me, guys. Let me hide this. And to talk about, well, first, I do want to touch on what you talked about in terms of, this is something I've said before. Don't worry so much about the, as you said, platform, but don't worry about the language itself. Don't worry about also the platform or service or what have you. It's all logic. And most programming languages all have if statements, or they have if statements, or in terms of like, I think what they call it is like branch decision making or branch trees. And then they also have loops. Those are like the base of all programming languages, right? And the reason why I break it down to just that, loops, variables, and stuff like that. So most of them all have that, right? There are some obscure ones there you don't have that. And then, there are some ones where they cut out and the way they present loops. Like, for instance, I think
accessing arrays, know how to access objects properly.
Yeah, and like
how to iterate, like iterate all that stuff properly.
And the naming conventions for all of those. So for instance, like Golang only, I think Go language only has a while loop, or no, they only have for loops. They don't have while loops. They don't have for each loops. All they have are for loops. That's it. Whereas JavaScript, you'll have high order functions, and a lot of those will be how you deal with arrays, and how you treat arrays and things like that.
Map, reduce, all that shit.
For each is one of my favorites.
Yeah,
every right, and then like and now you have you have other you have for in, or
dealing with objects. So for in is only for objects, and for of it's for objects too, but it's for all the object based. Like you can use it for arrays and all that too.
Or array like objects as well. Like you can have so there's for of, and the difference between like a for each and a for of is that you can actually have break statements in them. So in a for each you can't have a break statement, but in a for of you can have a break and continue statement if you needed to, or a break statement, which is actually powerful, because otherwise you'd have to just use a regular for loop, which is not as quote unquote clean or nice. And we'll get to this question by Shikamaru. I know that's a Naruto reference now that I read it properly. But Underdog Devs and groups like Underdog Devs, I didn't know exactly what they were about, but it says, we are a group of software engineers supporting formerly incarcerated and socioeconomically disadvantaged aspiring developers, pretty much mainly Black people, or people of color. I'm sorry to put us in that, but that's what we're usually known for in terms of our inner city and our disadvantaged people.
You want to know something? We ain't even deep in there like that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably it'll be like white formerly incarcerated people too, mostly.
Yeah, it's a very mixed group, which I don't have no problem with. I love everybody in there.
That's actually surprising.
Everybody in there, but like you say though, you would think we would be more in there though. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I will say I stand corrected on that, but that's semi-surprising, but also not. Simply because we already talked about how Black people don't, our brothers, Black people in general, and our brothers don't put in some of the work, but also there's the talk about we talked a little bit about imposter syndrome a little bit, but there is that little white racist in your head saying that you can't do it, and then it's the voice of your boss or a voice of this random person where you just don't think in that level. It's kind of crazy how that works, but yeah. So okay, I stand corrected. There's not a lot of, so there wasn't a lot of brothers in terms of in your class or people in your meetups, I guess you guys, or stuff you guys did on camera?
Not in my cohort. I think it was one other brother. It is a few more recently, I will say, right. But still, I think we should be flooded in there. You know what I'm saying? I remember I was trying.
A lot of it was like that.
I was trying to get some dudes come, try to start networking more, and then I don't know, man. But
so let's push things like this to brothers, people that are incarcerated. I think you have a great story when it comes to this stuff, but Underdog Devs, man, it's a group of individuals that are helping disadvantaged groups of individuals or formerly incarcerated groups of individuals. So
another good group too that's on Twitter, Rescale Americans. That's another one. I was dealing with. Well, I still deal with. But,
yeah,
that's a real good one too. Actually, they have a cohort. They about to start. They finna start another cohort, I think.
That's really good. All right, cool. Let's get to a question here. You said Reskill Americans?
Yeah, Reskill Americans.
I do this off screen because people see my porn habits. Anyways, don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, cool. Reskill Americans. Only 154 tweets. And one thing that's another great thing, right? Because this joined in October of 2020. Constructive Consultant, thank you so much for those kind words, man. Great constructive conversation, brothers. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And I know we're really breaking. Like, I could talk a lot, but we're really trying to break a lot of this stuff apart, just so we can see that, hey, a brother that did it and was 8 years in the making, got out of prison in 2016. Now he's breaking into IT. You know what I mean? Like, and that's like, he's got his foot in the door and he worked very hard to do it. And we've done, a couple coding sessions, but he's done more in other spaces like the Black Brain Trust and SubZero 369's 3639's channel. I think I said his number right. But yeah, man, I appreciate that. But yeah, like, guys, there's a lot of groups out there. And what's great about these groups is, again, 154 tweets. They have 621 followers. Now, if you match this up to any thought or booty model or anybody else out there like that, let me show my face here. If you match this up to any thought or any booty model out there, or any of these other thirst trapping websites or social media accounts, there are a lot of people, doing that. Guess how many people are going into these people's DMs that are actually getting you enough money so that you can actually pay for the thirst traps that you get caught in? Like, they're not getting a lot of DMs, guys. So the reason why I say that is because these people are very accessible. These people are available so that you can actually, I appreciate it. This is a Black Manosphere conversation. It definitely is indeed. Okay, I just got in. Is Reskill Americans the boot camp you went through? Can you?
Yeah, I actually did go through like I said, that was like some of the stuff I was dealing with through them. Was like some of the stuff you was helping me out with when I was on there.
Oh, we did a couple. We did I think 2 streams.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff they did, they were dealing with NoSQL, MongoDB, and dealing with MongoDB and queries.
Authentication. I was dealing with login stuff, I think.
And you were working.
Because I remember you was tripping on what I was working. You was like, man, you kind of doing some complex stuff to be just
right. And you were doing pieces of that project, right?
Actually, I was doing I think that when I was contributing my my ticket, I think.
Right. And see,
well, I think that was one of them. One of them I think was completely my solo project, I think.
Yes.
Because I had both. I had like a solo and I had like a team. I was working on like the team project, pushing it, getting stuff like that.
And what's nice about this is that you're working with teams, which is a big thing that I was missing out on.
That was because that was like one of the best ways they introduced me to Git, because navigating Git is a beast in itself.
Git is
really get that experience is it's definitely going to help out. It's going to help out with this job.
Get good on Git. Definitely get good on Git. You have to do that when you're working in teams and things like that. Even if you're working in systems, working with things like if you look at HashiCorp's Terraform, where you can actually do your infrastructure as code, or where you can deploy entire infrastructure or infrastructures with just code that you put out, firewall rules and things like that, dealing with all these different cloud platforms such as AWS, Azure, and GCP. You can literally write Terraform code and copy it across 2 different IaaS's or infrastructure as a service platforms, and you can do all of that in code and deploy it, and then it will work for you. What's it called? It will do pretty much all of the work for you instead of you clicking to do 10 servers. You can code 10 servers and spin those up.
Okay, so I didn't know nothing about that. I've seen that word Terraform around. I never like really.
Yeah, HashiCorp's Terraform. Another guy on my project is he's actually the one that's working on that. Me personally, I am not. But I would definitely like to work on that a little bit more. But yeah, get good on Git for sure. And I'm gonna find a quick a GitHub tutorial that I talk to people, or I always push out to people. Git for Professionals.
Yeah, that actually helped them in interview as well. So getting back to I do want to touch on that again. So you're going to be tested for most parts in the interviews. It's going to be code. I've been doing a bunch of interviews before I landed this, and mostly all of them, they're going to test you. You have to do a programming test. So whatever language you choose to use, you're definitely going to have to know it deeply, so you'll be able to solve some of the problems they're going to be coming at you with. So your typical leak code stuff, you definitely want to go through leak code. Just be familiar with all the different certain patterns that come up all the time, and you want to get familiar with those patterns.
Pattern recognition is very big, and even though I do some of the relationship or what's it called, Black culture stuff, where we talk about relationships, we're more or less about behaviors. Pattern recognition exists in all things in terms of our society and the way we as humans work as well. So there's social programming, emotional programming, but all that stuff is just pattern recognition, noticing all these different things where you can point out gaslighting, so on and so forth. So a lot of the stuff that you see in the Manosphere, you can easily transition over into code, because a lot of that stuff is pattern recognition as well. How to do for loops, and how to just how to declare a variable and go from there. So that's like a big thing that a lot of people don't. They really get scared of programming. But then if you look at how, if you understand how every day your dad comes in from work and he always puts his key in the same place and so on and so forth, you can start to recognize that pattern, what he expects, what you expect him to do, what his day is going to be like, or anything else like that. Same thing with your mother, same thing with your girlfriend. You do the same thing when it comes to code as well. All right. I definitely wanted to read this and getting back to this. Shikamaru, thank you for your patience. And hopefully you're still in the chat here. Shout out to y'all. I got into SQL during the lockdown, and although I know the basics and still review my flashcards, I need practice besides what W3 Schools gives. Thanks for the book suggestion. So listen, there's a ton of places that you can go to. Yes, W3 Schools is excellent. You can go to udemy.com. You can also go to freecodecamp.com.
Microsoft got the even to use that book I got in there. Microsoft have for SQL Server, the AdventureWorks database. Like that's kind of like industry standard. The AdventureWorks databases that you can download and practice.
I didn't know about that. Yeah, I definitely didn't know about that one.
So because it gives you a nice size database, so that way you can kind of really do some, complex stuff.
And when you get into this, you really start to see the importance of not just data, but good data, good practice data, generating that data, being able to write code so you can automatically generate data and data sets. For instance, creating files so you can write little scripts and things like that. That's like a big thing as well. But go on, you were saying about the book.
No, I was just saying that, and some of the problems in here are extremely challenging too. Definitely get that book. That's definitely one of the best books. If you're saying you want to get good at SQL, definitely get that book. Download AdventureWorks databases to practice with. I think you got Northwinds too. I think because Microsoft have like a few different databases they have that you can download. Another real good book too.
I want to shout this out. This is guys. Another thing is great when you guys engage and give information. I love that. Thank you so much for that, because it's helping the other people that are actually listening to this. But Helmet Chili says check out Microsoft Learn as well. Lots of free content.
Yeah.
So you can go on Free Code Camp. They have their own website. They also have Free Code Camp YouTube channel, where literally they're giving courses away that are on Udemy for 10, 15, $100. They're giving 8-hour full-length courses, sometimes 15-hour courses. I think I've seen. Recently, they just put out a course, an 8-hour full-featured course on Go, the language made by Google. But I think that, and it's like it's another server-side language, if you will. And it's something where it runs mainly, most of your stuff gets compiled to a binary that runs, which is also a little bit more performant and efficient than something like a Node.js, which gets interpreted as opposed to where it gets executed as a binary or something like that. So that's always a really big thing. You were saying?
No, I agree with all that. I see brother in there, Rhodes. I see you got a question, how to learn, good place to learn Linux.
Okay, yeah, good. Gold Professor says, what would be a good place to learn Linux for extreme beginners? I'm asking for a friend. Okay, me, Gold Professor. Gold Professor.
I'll let you answer that. I'm actually still trying to learn Linux too. I'm a beginner myself. I got a laptop here with Linux Mint on it. But I can like CD, LS around. I know some stuff around Linux, but I don't think I'm like, I think I still got a long way to go, like really navigating Linux. But I think how I'm starting out is probably the best way. Just get Linux and start messing around, probably.
So there's that. But one of the places where I personally learned Linux, and I always recommend it till this day, is howtoforge.com. I did put the link in the chat here.
I'm gonna look that. I'm gonna say that right now.
How to Forge is motherfucking excellent. I can use curse words because this is my channel. Fuck you guys. But How to Forge is excellent because what it actually does, it gives you guides, full-on guides on how to install certain things. Like, for instance, right now, how to install Joomla with Nginx on Rocky Linux. Like, that's fucking obscure as shit, right? But they have literally, figuratively, literally, but damn near as close as you can get to always having they always have some type of how-to for the new, like Mint Linux, the newest version of Ubuntu and all this other stuff. It is a great resource on how to, like, for instance, if you were a person that rocked with Ubuntu back in 6.0 days or 6.06, 6.04, 6.06, and 6.10, I believe I think they did a 6.10 at that time. Because if you don't know, with Ubuntu, they release every April and October. So every 6 months, they release a new version. And sometimes they will release a version in between that. And then they also, every so often, they'll have an LTS version of the operating system. That is your long-term support, meaning that the binaries in there are going to be stable and they're going to be good, and you don't have to upgrade your server every freaking 6 months. That code and that code base and the repositories for that are usually fairly stable, and they don't make major changes. All the changes in between happen, and you can go from LTS to LTS. One thing that's great about How to Forge is they will help you going from one LTS to the next, to the next, to the next. So you can chain all the way up. But learning how to do mail servers and all types of other stuff, man, How to Forge, literally, it'll give you step-by-step guides, and with all types of images, everything, man, and like all the commands. Literally, you can copy and paste the whole command set, just run it. And some of them are just that simple, and there'll be no questions whatsoever.
Yeah, I got it bookmarked right now on my Linux Mint laptop.
Yeah, if you want to learn how to do WordPress hardening, or anything else like that, that's one of those are some of the big places. I know I'm glad
you put me on that, because I'm actually I actually plan on once I get more situated, I still plan on, you know what I'm saying, doing some work on the side. So I think the job, me having the job is actually going to help me even get even more work, so I can be able to get some side work now.
Yeah, so, yeah, and then you can really start, you know, if you really get proficient, you could start at $30, $40 an hour, and once you build up a larger clientele, which is something I've definitely neglected to do, you can get up to like, you know, 3 figures an hour. And I definitely want to get back to that, but do it for coding.
Yeah, see, yeah.
But Helmet Chili says also lots of free content on Z Library, millions of books.
Z Library. I don't know nothing about that.
Yeah, I don't know about that either. All right, so one thing we were talking about was how did you prep for this? So we talked about underdog devs and Reskill America. So that's how you started to learn. What about your resume process? And let's get into your interview process as well. And I don't know how much time you have. I know it's like been a long conversation here.
Nah, we can ride out for a little bit, bro. You know, awesome. I appreciate you. You know, you was big help too. You know, just watching you. You know what I'm saying? Watching you. You know, I might not be saying a whole lot in the chat, whatever. But, you know, just watching you vibe out. A couple of few times you helped me out per program. Yeah, I appreciate that, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, I appreciate the interaction. I appreciate you using me as well. Sometimes the best test is, you know, actually teaching another person. And that shows that you really are proficient and you know good enough, you know things well enough. So I appreciate like you asking, bro. But yeah, let's talk about your resume, man. What did that look like in terms of building your resume and preparing to look for jobs?
Now, resume work, I actually don't. I mean, I used a resume builder. What's the name of this site? I'm finna hold on and look it up.
Hey, Helmet Chili Z Library. If you can tell me the web for though, I think it's a Shadow Library project file sharing, journal articles, text, and general text. So I think it's zlib.org, and it goes to ulib.
Yeah, that's what I got too, zlib.org. I see your links for books and articles, which I download I download PDFs all the time. So I definitely be using this.
Yeah, and that's a very powerful thing. If you got your nice little Google Drive and you got a nice phone or something like that, you can put a lot of that stuff on your Google Drive and go from there, or go to these online repositories where you can actually access books all over the place as long as you have an internet connection. That's a big thing as well, for sure. So, okay, Kick Resume, kickresume.com. Oh, yeah, that's it. Perfect. Thank you, Helmet Chili. So kickresume.com.
So yes, I use that website, you know, to make a nice resume. I paid for it too. I always believe like if you know, kind of stand out, you want to pay for a lot of services. Everybody else trying to get free stuff. You know, I don't mind spending. I think I told you before, you know, if I got to pay you to be my mentor, I'll do it. I always believe in, you know, respecting and appreciating, you know, people that got, you know what I'm saying, got the knowledge and skill. And yeah, you got to respect that. You know, people just be thinking, everybody just want to just take. You know what I'm saying? You gotta, you know, you gotta have some balance to that, man. But yeah, I think Kit Resume, I still use it. This is what I use for my recent resume. I don't think it was fleshed out a whole lot because I don't have. It's tough because you don't have any experience, so it's still tough trying to finagle the resume. So you got to create projects. So I got a lot of stuff on my GitHub. Like I'm pretty consistent. I've been since last couple of weeks, but I only got like one project that's live.
Okay.
So that's like the only one I had on my resume, and I just had like my most recent job, and I kind of like just tied in. But I did have I graduated from the Reskill Americans, so I had the certificate for that.
Nice.
So the resume, you can link to it. Everything you can link to my GitHub. the GitHub really helped. Like that's
Okay.
what really helped. Actually, I think that's really what got me hired when he saw my GitHub.
Okay.
It ain't super consistent, but it's okay consistent. I think, especially for a beginner.
Can you put your GitHub in the chat so other people can see it? And then I'll look at it as well. What's your username on there?
Don't be Cypher 16. That's actually a Matrix reference.
Yeah, right. Cypher. Yeah, you do follow me on GitHub, so if I can't.
Yeah. I'm following you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I did get it. So one thing I want to talk about is so Kick Resume. This is their pricing. They do have different pricing plans on. For something like this will definitely help you put out your resume, design your resume, and put things out. It's pretty much what you used, and it paid off. That's one thing. But then if you guys look in some of the old Obfuscate, the Obfuscate playlist, there was a couple streams where we talked about building a resume. And this was one of the things that I built live on the stream. One of the few projects that I actually finished, But and we will be getting back to coding pretty soon.
I gotta say that's clean as shit right now. Yeah. I gotta get like you, bro. You killing it,
bro. Like putting all the nice little fancy stuff in the background every time you refresh. Gives you a different color. That's all JavaScript. Some of this stuff is already in the template.
That is clean, bro.
Yeah, and how to actually steal a template. I think I went over that. How to steal websites. I think I went over that. And you can do that with Linux and wget. And I'll get to Gold Professor. I'll get to your question here in a little bit. So I apologize for that. But yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with this and actually push this out and use different JavaScript libraries like this one here. I forgot what this one is called, but you can see where I have a Google Doc that goes to my latest resume, my Upwork profile, my YouTube channel.
That would be like Motor for like downloading stuff, right? That package.
I use Motor. Is it Motor or Meltor? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. No, I use wget. And you mean for this package here?
Well, the download CV resume.
Oh, that's just a link, and that links to my.
It's just a link. Okay.
Yeah, that just links to like my actual resume, and I like this because I can always change this, and I don't have to go back and update this. And then if you wanted to, you can always export this if you wanted to. So if you guys ever want to see that, if you go to my GitHub.
Matter of fact, let me
repositories. This is Tree Star's resume here. So my username on there is Tree Star Systems. It's the same as like it's spelled like regular. Let me get to Gold Professor's question here. So sorry about that. I am wanting to break into IT, but more so doing it remotely. I would be an intermediate level when it comes to CPU. So that's hardware. I would like direction or help with that, if you will. Yeah, Gold Professor, if you hit me up, and anybody can hit me up at my email, and we can always have conversations about this. And you're definitely a person that has contributed a great deal to the space and to other people and to just the general discussion. So I have no problem talking to you, helping you out and stuff like that and going from there. And it can be totally offline and private if you want. I'm down for that, no problem, just to help you out and help other brothers out as well. But there's my email there. If you're talking about that, you probably are talking about being more of a system administrator. And if you are going to be more of a system administrator, one thing you need to be worried about is not so much when you say CPU, you need to be worried about more cloud technologies and not the things that you have to physically deal with, because it's going to be hard to work with those remotely. So you're going to want to get maybe an AWS certification, and you can actually get FreeCodeCamp's YouTube site. If you look up AWS, this guy, and honestly, this guy's course, he sells this on udemy.com. Gives it out here for fucking free. Just putting that out there, guys. A lot of this stuff is free. So AWS Cloud Practitioner, I think that's the second level, but he has there's like associate, and then there's one that's like lower that he does. But he does all of these, and these are full-on courses that you would pay maybe $10 for. And this is for this one, AWS certified cloud practitioner certification course, passed the exam. So this whole thing is 13 hours, 13 and a half hours. That's amazing. And that's free. So Go Professor, that is something that you need to really get into. And again, we could talk about that and actually map out a course of how I would do it and what I have personally seen. I've actually not gotten a programming job because the guy liked me and we had a long conversation, and I was talking maybe $125,000, $135,000 a year, essentially. So about like, I think closer to $60 an hour. And he was, my only problem, or my biggest problem, was I didn't have enough, what he said, cloud experience. Now I could learn it, I could easily get into it, but he wanted that coming out the gate. Besides that, we spent a good time on the phone, but I didn't have the experience, didn't get the job. So that stuff is there. It's free. And if you don't get it, that's all on you. And I'm not saying that for you, but guys in general. What's it called? I'm just going to catch up on some of the things from the chat. Haven't started any projects on my journey as yet. Yo, definitely. You definitely need to start some projects, get out, free code camp, how to forge, and put these things together. If you're a coder, definitely get a GitHub. That's like, that right there, your GitHub and your code is a great way to strengthen your resume.
Yeah. So GitHub. I think this is the trifecta for me: GitHub, Leak Code, and networking. Okay. The main thing I really want to say, got this particular job I got, actually was the networking. Someone I really already had the job. I just didn't have to just go in the interview and just say something.
You got to go through the motions.
Yeah, as long as I ain't staying on stupid shit, I had a job basically.
All right. Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about, like, especially all the work that you put in. We're talking about something that's 8 years in the making, guys. And then maybe 4 years since the work that he did with SubZero. So the more focused work, we're talking about 4 years in the making. And again, it took him as long as it did because of his past, because of his record. Now, for guys that don't, and again, this is one of those things that should be empowering to people in this space, is that if you don't have a record, it's like that, baby. It's like getting a job at 7-Eleven.
It is sweet. That's what I got to be honest. I really don't be wanting to hear a lot of shit from dudes because I know you got it sweet. It ain't gonna be like my shit was. Like, I really don't got a lot of patience to be, especially like these last couple of, like, it was like, man.
Hey, listen, when you
some people was kind of coming at me too. I actually went off on somebody kind of like,
oh yeah,
because I'm like, I just didn't want to hear it. Like, I'm like, dude, busting my head. Like, you ain't gonna have it hard like me. I know you not, and I'm still fucking dealing with this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even before the IT stuff, like, sales. I was working at Alma. I had got hired at Alma. That's one of like the biggest marketing firms down here, downtown. Not I ain't got the job. I was saying all the right shit, was looking clean as fuck. You know what I'm saying? But background got me immediately fired. You know what I'm saying?
And like, one of the good things, again, guys, talking about networking, Underdog, I think he said Underdog Devs on Twitter, getting into networks like that, some of those people, they see you and they actually market you to other people. So now you have somebody like a Richard Dixon.
Yeah, I had a mouthpiece, basically.
Yeah, Richard Dixon that came out of that program, and now he could possibly get you hired on to his job, to his crew or something like that. If not now, maybe later, or even
right.
And so,
and I definitely plan on doing it. Like even in the program, I'm already in motion. You know, just like people help and gave back to me. You know, I'm going to be giving back as well. You know, I'm already, you know, getting trained. And like I said, I want to give back in the program actually. So I'm going to give my time and, you know, help out and do shit too. You know, that's what it's all about. You know,
you can't talk shit about a community that you won't even give time to help out. So that's like, you know, if you want change in your community, you're going to have to do things to actually make that change happen. Yeah, you can have your opinion, but after a while, I'm gonna tell you to shut the fuck up if you ain't doing the work. Just like Richard Dixon had to go through. So Faber says, I'm going to focus on JavaScript, but how proficient do I need to become in HTML and CSS before doing JS? You fucking really don't. I mean, like, you know, I would say, yeah, you can go through your W3 school stuff, but in terms of being proficient, listen, if you say, for instance,
I don't think you can ever get proficient in CSS. Like, I can't stand it, to be honest. HTML is pretty simple, but
CSS is a motherfucker. So let's go into some of my JavaScript here. Do resume.js. And for instance, if I wanted to change the color of the website every single time that the website loads, this is how I do it. Like, you know, I have the array that I'm going to actually pick the colors from. And then that array is an array of JSON objects. And then all those JSON objects all have the same names for their keys. And then they have different values, right? And then I make a function that says random page color. And random page color takes an array or takes a parameter into its function. This is known as CA. CA gets reused as a variable in this function. And then this is how I randomize that, because essentially what it's doing is it's taking math.floor. So whatever, it's randomizing the number and then rounding down. So math.random times CA length. So essentially it's randomizing this times the length of the actual array. So essentially I can have an array of 1 item to 1,000, and it'll actually calculate that and come up with a random value within that array. So math.random times the length of the actual array itself, and then it rounds it down. And then essentially that, since it's in these brackets here, that is the index or the place that I'm actually going to reference. So for instance, if this comes out to be, it's going to be a random number between 1 and 4. And because math.random, I believe, produces a decimal. So that's why you do .floor to round it down. And then that's the index number that I'm getting between 1 and 4. So maybe it chooses 2 or 2.4, it rounds it down to 2. And then I'm doing CA, and then whatever is at the index or index of 4, or that position in the array. All right, cool. That's what I'm choosing. And then take all that. And I went through that really quickly. I mean, again, I have a whole video on that, and you guys can go ahead and see that. It's linked in the Obfuscate playlist on my channel, and it's talking about resume. So if you search resume on my channel, you should see it. Let's see here, resume.css, and this doesn't do it. It is main.css. So in my main.css, one thing I learned about CSS, because again, your question is how do you become proficient? Don't fucking worry about it. The biggest thing, long story short, is search for what you need when you need it, or search for what you want when you need to. So I was like, well, how can I change all of these CSS values via JavaScript? Well, you can do it by doing like you could do like, I think it's like set attribute or something like that. And I think you can do set attribute, and you can change things in HTML. You can change things in the DOM, but to change things with CSS is sometimes a little bit on the harder side. But one thing that's nice about CSS, or CSS, I think CSS 3 now, is that you can actually have variables. So you can have a root variable, or you can have this thing called root here, and then you can have variables within it. So one of the variables is resume color primary 1. And then I make my function here. If we duplicate this, go back. Resume JS. And you can see here how I start to do document, which is the actual DOM itself, document element, which is an element within that document. So this is how I reference CSS attributes. And then I have the set attribute helper function, which is built into JavaScript. That's not an extra library.
Yeah, I think the two main things you'll be dealing on the front end was, like you say, document on DOM and what, window. Document and window.
Yeah, window, yeah. And I think document is just a pointer to window, but window has a different lexical scope. I think window is below document or above document, but there's a reason why you reference window and not document in some cases. And also sometimes it's the browser. But document and then set attribute and then style. So that's how you reference your style sheet elements. And then I have all those same that same variable that I had. And then you can see where I do select object, resume, primary color 1, 2, 3, and that correlates to these here. Again, I went over this in, you don't know this, but, I think it's telling you.
Everything look clean too.
Yeah, I went over all of that type of stuff. So guys, a lot of this stuff is, I learned it on the fly. I'm not proficient at it. This is just some stuff that I learned on the fly and went through. There's a long explanation just to say that you don't have to learn everything, but I like to give examples. All right. So moving on, I just shot you an email. I was speaking about CPU in general, not necessarily the hardware, even though I am familiar with that as well. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. And then that's where we get more clarification. We talk about it more as well. So, man, yeah, we will definitely be talking, brother. I'll reach out to you after this stream. All right, reading through some of this. So it's just a matter of discipline and consistency, most definitely. It really is. And especially when it comes to IT, one of the biggest things is being consistent in how you write code. If you're a person that likes to do for loops, and then later on in your code, you start to use for of loops or for eaches and stuff like that, that becomes coding inconsistencies. And in some cases, for some coding platforms or companies, they actually have code guides that you have to follow or guidelines and putting in work. All right. So we passed on resume. What was the interview process like? And this is probably one of the last questions before we finish this up here, because we're going on 2 hours.
Yeah. So the interview process. Now, this actually was funny. I got this job, and this actually was the only one where I didn't have to do an actual coding assessment.
Okay. All right. Oh, how many jobs did you have?
Basically, it was more like it was more similar to how when I used to look for SQL jobs. SQL jobs is more about just speaking to a lot of the concepts, and they don't have you do like SQL queries and all that. It's all about just speaking to all the higher complex concepts. So yeah, he just had me like go over. I talked a lot about Node, dealing with backend stuff, dealing with concepts. Just not spoke to a lot of I can deal with login, login system authentication authorization. That's key because a lot of people want, they want to, have security. That's one of the main things is security. Speaking to security, which I was always reading. It's actually a GitHub. I actually like this. It's a PDF, but I was just reading the chapters through the actual GitHub repo. GitHub is like a good source too for just reading a lot of code. Actually, that's something too. Get used to try to get in the habit as much as you can. You just try to just go through GitHub and just read some code.
That's one thing I definitely do not do.
Yeah, I was doing that because I felt like Even right now, I don't feel like I'm really all that a good programmer. You know, I was talking about that with you earlier. Like I think I'm just kind of just getting by, you know, with the grit and network more than anything. But I want to try to get, do my best to get, to get better. But,
yeah, we touched on that earlier about imposter syndrome, which is a big thing. That's where you feel that you've gotten a job, but you feel alienated, like you don't belong there. You feel like somewhat of an imposter, and at some point, they will find you out and essentially get rid of you.
Bro, I actually was feeling like that so bad today.
Oh wow! Okay, go into that. Talk about that, man.
Like, so in the aspect working remote just increases it.
Yeah.
No bullshit. I felt like I'm finna get fired.
Like today.
The only reason it went away because the lady from HR she came back and got more paperwork from it.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't like, because she didn't come yesterday when she said she would, but it was all because she was traveling. See, I got to get used to this startup lifestyle too. So I'm thinking crazy. I'm like, why didn't she come speak to me yesterday like she said she was? It did. I felt like I wasn't going through the training fast enough. I'm like, I'm going through this too slow. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I was thinking crazy yesterday and today.
And we talked about this before the stream, and we talked about the imposter syndrome, but we talked about as a black man, a black person, and that little racist comes up in your head for me especially, and I don't know if it does it for you, but somebody on your team or a colleague gives you a critique, and then you're just extra sensitive, and it's just like, yo, listen, I'm a black. I grew up in high school as a black kid. I used to get ragged on all the time. What do you mean? And you feel insecure about your work, about the comments that you get on your work. Sometimes people are trying to be too nice to you, so you kind of see that you're ultra like sensitive to it and ultra aware. But sometimes it's that, as BGS would say, that little racist in your head, where it's not like that person is being racist. You're projecting racism onto them.
Right.
So every time they say something to you, you're like, oh, this cracker don't know me. Like, but you're saying this shit in your head, like, but I
definitely agree with that. And I have to make sure. I think I got better checking myself on that, because we can get like that. I definitely agree with that. And and I know I'm a paranoid person. You know, just because all crazy shit that happened over the years. But I'm extremely paranoid, and I've checked myself. It's not. I think I do a good job checking it where it doesn't affect me navigating people working and stuff like that. I can be professional. I can get on some nigga shit too. But I think I've been doing a pretty good job. You know what I'm saying? Not doing that, but I think it can be tough though. Sometimes.
Yeah, speak to that. Like, speak to you. How do you overcome that? How do you say, hey, listen, man, calm down. It's okay. You got this. Like, what is the conversation like when that happens?
Yeah, you have to talk to yourself, like you say, mentally. You got to be willing to be critical of yourself. Of course, too much, isn't good. But you do have to find that balance. I think I think a lot of us can be arrogant and narcissistic, so to speak. I think
like our shit don't stink.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier. Like I mentioned earlier, I purposely didn't get on panels when a lot of times I could have. Like, people always be like, I purposely stayed in the chat. Why? Because I felt like I'd rather hear someone that's more knowledgeable than me.
Yeah, like you weren't at all, about it's like you getting on this, we're having this conversation, you're a subject matter expert, whether you know it or not, whether you feel that way.
I feel like I can speak now. I mean, I've broken the industry.
Yeah.
But
and then, like, you talk about how you did it.
Yeah. And it's a time and place for everything. I think sometimes, we want to. I don't know, I'm kind of all over the place right now.
No. I know it's getting kind of long in the tooth here with our conversation, but it's good. So we've been going on pretty well.
Yeah. I don't know. I just
Well, I mean, I will say this, having that imposter syndrome, and it sounded like you probably only went to one interview or two interviews?
This was two interviews.
Two interviews. Okay. So you had your initial screening where you probably, who did you talk to in your initial screening?
Okay. Yeah. So he's an engineer too.
Mm-hmm.
So we just talked about,
was it your
the great thing about this particular interview, which really helped, like, he knows about underdog dev. So it wasn't this back and forth. That's actually affected my interviews too.
Yep.
Because it's always this dance of, should I,
tell him about.
A lot of times I got to the point where I was just lying. Like, I was just like, fuck it. Like, because if I bring it up, it's going to be no deal. So I always was just, I'm not bringing it up. And to be honest, I think it helped me. I think that's how I got some of those tech support jobs. Like, I mean, I don't think
by omission in a sense.
Yeah, I don't think they just didn't check.
Yeah.
Especially on that first job I had after right at the beginning of COVID, Sitel, because it was chaotic. I know they didn't check.
Yeah.
They was just trying to get people.
Yeah, they ain't give a fuck.
It was chaotic as hell. The onboard was chaotic.
Yep.
Just everything was chaotic. So, but it helped me out in that chaos.
So and that's another thing, being a part of those groups and people knowing about those groups. One thing that's nice is the people that know about those groups know what you have to go through to achieve or to make an accomplishment or progress through those programs. And that, like, you kind of are, it's like having a Harvard degree in a sense,
Right. That's a good point. And that's something we talked about in the group, because you don't know what someone is doing. So when you come in groups, that's why you got the network and being part of groups. Because someone can say, well, I know him. I've been pair programming with him every other day.
Yeah. And I
see what I'm saying. So
I know he responds.
Having someone vouch for you like that, you can't get that if you're just trying to just do everything on your own.
Yep.
Because nobody knows you. And I think that's with a lot of industry. It's all about who you know a lot of times. I mean, yeah, you got to put in the work still. But you definitely got to know. And one of my partners actually from Reskill Americans, he's actually an underdog too right now. I would say I think he's a better programmer than me. Me and him started at the same time. But he is nice, but he is so introverted.
Yeah. Well,
it's so hard for him to network.
Well, that's where you as a person,
I've been trying to help him out.
Yeah, you help him out. And like that's sometimes what you do, is because those are some of the most loyal motherfuckers out there, is those introverted people, because they don't have many friends. So the friends that they do have, they value them to a larger extent. I'm an introverted.
Yeah, because he fucks with me. I didn't even know he was introverted like that until he told me.
Yeah, you know, because you're that dude.
I can't tell. I'm like, shit.
Yeah, like you are a person that is like a close friend. And those same close friends are the ones that will help you get other jobs. So if you help him, that's somebody that's in your corner, and that's a beautiful thing, because I'm introverted, but I'm extroverted. So I'm introverted where I stay home a lot, but if I need to, I'll talk, and I know what but I had to learn to kind of get out of that as well. Because one day I just said, listen, Mike, if you want this business, my computer consulting business when I had it, and even my salon when I had it, if you want this to work, you're going to have to talk to people. And I had to, learn that quote unquote gift of gab. But then gift of gab in other places like I've said it before where it's just like, you know, maybe talking or approaching a chick out in the street, you might, you know, feel a certain way and you might be nervous. And I felt this before and I'll be like, yo, this is crazy. But then when I'm in certain environments, the club, I could just talk to them like it ain't nothing. You know what I mean? And that's what you see where your mind gets in your way a lot. Shout out to Line of MGTOW, brother. Salute, man. I appreciate you always joining, commenting, and everything, man. And I love the work that you do, bro. I always like, love seeing Line of MGTOW and then like his videos, his voice, and everything else like that, man. So appreciate it.
I didn't even know he did video. That's what's
Line of MGTOW? Yeah, man. You know, it's just like
yeah, I'm always at Black Brand shows. I know he and being MOT chats a lot too.
Now, Line of MGTOW does this stuff. I think he has this. He had this one video that I always loved is that he was at this creek or something like that, man. I don't know if that was on his property or something like that, but that definitely, I need to do the same thing for like my creek. I need a path down to my creek. But getting back into it, so, you know, having those networks, you went through 2 interviews. Me personally, I went through 4 interviews. The last one was the expectations meeting where they went over the paperwork and showed me how much I was going to make and everything else like that. But the first interview was a screening call. And guys, I think this is another Obfuscate video. I think it was on the Obfuscate, but it talked about the interview process, the 4-phase interview process. And I actually went through a 4-phase interview. The first interview,
crazy to be doing that. And I heard the Fame doing even more than that. I heard it sometimes 5 and 6.
Yeah, especially, and it depends on the level of you know, the level of worker or leadership you're in.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I guess I could see maybe with a more senior position, but I don't know, some of these even junior positions. I guess I think I can see maybe 3. The first one, the initial screening, then the second one, the code assessment. And I only got to the third one time. That was with Checker. I actually had one to work there too.
Checker? What was this?
So they got the ironically they do the background chat. They got the background check API.
They do all that
but
stuff.
They actually are like doing like a lot of work behind the scenes, kind of like they actually deal with underdog deals a lot. That's how I got introduced to the
and that's another thing about joining groups in these different organizations and also making your own organizations, which is something we touched on early on in the stream for those that are just joining. You know, within the first 30 minutes or so, we started talking about organizations. And one of the first things was talking about organizations and what we want to see from the space and having more actual groups and collectives, black male groups and collectives. And even, you know, the different niches within that, the different subsections within that cater to different walks of life, such as, you know, people coming out of prison, people that are not really into it, older people and other things else like that. And people that are reskilling themselves, like Reskill America, which is, again, that's on Twitter. And that's another thing you can get to. Another great thing is nano degrees and certificates. So if you get into programs and courses that or learning tracks that actually have certificates at the end of them, that's a big thing.
Yeah, I agree. And I know Mike V and all them was talking about that on Black Branch was Keep It Tech too. You know, Udacity courses, stuff like
Udemy.
That. Yeah, Udemy. Yeah. I got a bunch of Udemy stuff. I think I haven't finished none of them though. I always go through. And I did get pretty far actually. The one I was using recently, I was using the one with JavaScript, algorithms and data structures. Because like I said, I was going through the leak code stuff. So Coke Steel.
One that is that the one I recommended? There was one that I recommended that was pretty good and I forgot it, but it was like advanced JavaScript, and man, that shit was really good. Like telling you how JavaScript really works.
I don't know if it's the same one. I think I got into that from one of my mentors. But yeah, it's good. It's by Coke Steel. It's on Udemy. So it's going through, you know, a lot of the patterns, like I was mentioning earlier, a lot of the patterns. So if people like when you start, do a lot of practice problems, once you get the basics, like we've been talking about, variables, iterating over arrays and objects, then there's certain patterns when you combining all this stuff you got to look out for. Like immediately, I know when I need to use a sliding window, or if I'm out to use what's some other patterns. Having a brain fart right now.
No, it's okay. I know we've been talking a lot. That's another thing. I'll
try like sliding window is when you iterating over the array, but when a certain condition happens, you might have like two pointers. That's another thing. 2 pointers. You might have when you're iterating your array, you might have to be incrementing from the beginning of the array and decrementing from the end of the array till you meet whatever your condition you're trying to meet. Okay, then once I meet this condition, then maybe push that to an array or mutate, whatever you're trying to do. I'm just trying to throw an example out there.
Yeah, and those are usually more advanced things. For instance, there are a lot of interview prep courses and programs. There's one gentleman, I forgot his name, but he actually does conversations and talks. And actually, I'll post it after this. But he did a talk with an actual Google recruiter, and what to expect from a recruiter, negotiations, and not feeling bad about asking for more money and things like that. So, for instance, as I was saying, I went through a 4-phase interview. The first one was the screening call. Sometimes that's with the project lead or manager or his underling, and he's going to report back, or another person on there. So they say, hey, listen, this person's a yay or a nay. So I had it with the project lead. The second conversation we had was more of a technical interview where they started to ask questions. And there was a lot of things that I just didn't know, like about DMARC and stuff like that, DMARC DNS records, and some other records that I just forgot about over time. But I can easily learn again. But I didn't think I did well on that. I think I did well on the first one, and I sucked on the second one. Comes to find out, on the second one, supposedly I was fucking, I kind of quote unquote blew them out of the water, and I did pretty well. And Lion and MGTOW, I'll get to your question in a second. Please stick with us for a second. And then the third one was a cultural interview. Now, listen, a cultural interview, although like my interview processes were pretty quick. They did them real fast, back to back. It wasn't like 1 week. One job I had where it was like a month of interviews and shit. It was bullshit. And I got selected for it. But by that time I had literally gotten 2 job offers when they finally said, we're okay with offering you for this one. So I took a little bit lesser pay so I could work 2 jobs. And I was able to do that. And that allowed me to pay off a lot of debts and got me into the house that I'm in now. So it was a good decision altogether. But that third interview, the culture interview, they wanted to know more about your mindset, who you are, what are your deficiencies, and also talking about your vulnerabilities. So I was very candid about them, or I was very candid with them about my feelings towards certain things and how I dealt with imposter syndrome, and also being really vulnerable, talking about my burnout, having to work a day job, a night job, having a business that was going down, and closing a business that I grew from inception, my computer consulting business, and closing that down during COVID and dealing with all those things.
I remember all of that.
Right. So, and then the fourth one was the expectation. So these are some of the things that you have to deal with. Your thoughts, and I'll move on to the question.
So the interview process, which everybody knows is one of the most grueling aspects of the industry. Even after still being in the industry, it's always still a grueling process. Like when I was one of my mentors was looking for a job while he was mentoring me.
Wow.
And it was he's I don't know if you found something. Yeah, I think he's still looking. It's just like, you got to deal with, especially I think it gets even worse because they look for you to do even more of those, like, crazy like algorithms and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that shit is like, a lot of that stuff, they're expecting you. Oh, wow. Hold on. Sorry. They're expecting you to know really advanced subjects. And it's just like, I've never had an experience with these type of subjects or these.
Because you're not going to use them on the job. That's what we always talk about. He was saying, so he knows algorithm data structures because he actually helped me out a lot. It ain't like he doesn't know it. But it's just different when you're trying to do the stuff in the interview. They probably come with some real weird questions. You know, that's just it ain't just a simple algorithm. It's, you know, extremely complex, difficult question. Mm-hmm. You haven't really been using that part of your brain because you kind of probably just doing repetitive troubleshooting type style coding. You know, you kind of like just most of the time, from what I don't understood from most people, you're kind of like just doing features. Like you're not really doing no real like. Yeah, of course, you need to have some programming literacy to know how to, you know, navigate arrays and objects and stuff like that. But you're not really doing some real.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff requires a sometimes small to very motherfucking large mindset and perspective and worldview change in terms of how you have to literally learn how to. It's like getting in an accident that paralyzes you partially, and you have to learn how to walk again. And you don't realize, you know, especially as a grown adult, you start to see how hard it was for you as a child. And you're like, how the fuck did I do this? But now you have to learn how to walk again. And now you're learning how to think again. And that's why some of these interviews, they're like that. They're really asking you, are you able to adapt to a problem? And how do you think and deal with that problem? How do you overcome? In a lot of ways.
Right. Now, I want to touch on that too.
Yeah, please.
Which, so from what I've seen, I was getting upset. I actually think I should have got the checker job. I actually think I blowed that interview. Like I think I should have been hired in the last year, but I froze up, and that like actually embarrassing froze up.
Oh wow!
Where it was like uncomfortable. Like I admit it, you know, it is. Wow. Because I felt like I didn't finish the problem, but like you know, my mentor was telling me, and yeah, some of the other mentees, you know, they got jobs where it was kind of similar like that, where
even I had doubts, you know, and this is like
it's not. A lot of times, it's not about finishing the problem. A lot of times, it's just about just talking through your train of thought, how you're going to go about the problem. Because even if you don't get enough time to finish it, they can tell if the way you're talking. I understand that now. I didn't quite get that yet at that time. But and in me doing more problems, I can even tell now. Like I remember I couldn't even talk through a lot of the leak code problems. Like I would just be like just fucking stuck. But even if I don't, even leak code problems, I didn't even really figure it out. I just be like, okay, let me just go look at the answer. I'd be like, okay, well, at least I got super close. Because sometimes you don't want to, because they taught us too that don't stay on a problem like super, super long. Yeah. You can't figure it out. Don't keep banging your head against it. Just go ahead and look at
it. And depending on the test and the way it's structured, you may not sometimes you have a test that is answer 100 questions, and then another test that is write an app that does 100 things. And it's just like, you know, you have to know how to move on to certain things and complete some of the get to what they call an MVP, which is a minimal viable product. And you know, that is getting to is like, all right, cool. This may not have all the features, but it has a lot of it. And you having more of the features is better than you having less of the features. That it's like, it's better that you have, say, it's like you have a piece of code that needs to do 10 things, but you have it, you know, do more than 5, maybe 7, maybe 8. That'd be really good, right? You got 8 out of the 10 features, but they're not really fleshed out. They're not really that great. It's a lot better than having 3 things that work fucking awesome, but then they're going to look at it like, bitch, it's only 3. you're fired. like, it's like, nah, man, I want more than that. You worked on this shit for 2 weeks. What the fuck is wrong with you? And that's one of the things. And then also, I was actually did an interview for Lennar Homes. I got hired right on the spot. Another job again. They were, was going through 3 or 4 interviews. Line of MGTOW. I apologize. I'm gonna get to your question, but they were talking about, I was at Lennar, and it was like I had damn near 2 to 3 different I had my manager, and then I had 2 other people come in and talk to me. And when I talked to them about troubleshooting, and it was for working nights as a knock and stuff like that, they were like, whoa, okay, hey, listen, man, I don't need you to know everything, and that's okay. But for what you just showed me, you know enough, I could teach you the rest. Some of those people, they fucking salivate over that shit. When you just give them a little bit and you're talking through that problem, like you were saying, they fucking love that, because it's like, oh, this motherfucker's mind can work. Like,
right.
He's running on, like, he got a V8 in that bitch. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah. Dealing with I don't know nothing about R. I know that deals like a lot of R is like used for like a database stuff too, I think, right?
It's mainly for I was just reading about this, but I just put a link in the chat about our program tutorial, learn the basics of statistical computing. The biggest thing about R and things like this, they're really looking at, you have data sets, and you want to start running different different calculations so you can pull certain things out of it, like maybe different charts, different graphs, different pictographs, if you will, or infographics that you can make out of it. One of the websites that's beautiful, that I'm sure they probably use something like R, which is like Data is Beautiful or something like that. That's an awesome website to look at on how all this stuff actually starts to how it turns out. Fucking bug. I think I got it. Damn it. Anyways, spring in Georgia. But it's R. I don't like, how hard is it to master R programming? I don't really know, but when it comes to this type of stuff with R, I know that one of the biggest things is you have to learn ETL. So the extract, transform, and load, right? ETL is extracting data from a data source, then transforming that data, maybe making everything uppercase, lowercase, filling in different blanks. That's your transform.
Right. That's actually part of what SubZero was teaching.
Yeah, and that's
SSI. That's basically ETL, SSIS, SSRS. Piping that data to a data warehouse.
Microsoft SQL, right? Those are parts of Microsoft SQL, that platform. SSRS.
SSIS deals with like the integration. That's basically where you do like the transform aspect of the ETL. So you would create like the ETL scripts in SQL Server, then you would pipe that through SSIS, and then you would probably pipe that to a data warehouse after you do like the transformations.
Right. So having, and then also having different forms of that data too. So, and then you load. Load is that data. Load is where you put it in your database or your data store of some sort.
Yeah.
Whether that, CSV file, text file, a flat file. Data warehouse.
A lot of times,
bigger. So, in terms of how hard is it, I wouldn't think it's that hard dealing with it, because with R, well, it depends on what you want to do with it. But with R, you can do a lot of things in terms of manipulating the data so that it can output in different charts or in different ways. So for instance, let's look at Data is Beautiful, or informationisbeautiful.com or .net. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. But this is some of the great things that you can actually do. And this is some of the things that, our brother might be doing pretty soon in terms of what he's actually working on, especially when you work with like databases and stuff. So taking information from various sources, let me take this off. Taking information from various sources from different government entities or different APIs. So I like to call it the ingestion and digestion of data. And then also the you can call it regurgitation if you want to keep on to that same way of that same analogy, if you will. but regurgitating that data out via an API or a database query of some sort. But having data, and then you would use R to actually make some of these things or put some of this data in what's it called, into a form that is digestible by other people. So, you know, having all these infographics here, all of these different, yeah, all this stuff. I mean, I won't pontificate on it anymore because I do not know R like that. I do not think it would be that hard to learn R and understand it. If there's anybody else that would, if you guys in the chat or anybody knows more information about R, yeah, please point it out so we can, you know, help brother Line of MGTOW.
The only thing I would add, if you're trying to learn R, you're going the route more of, it'll be different from, I think, the roles that probably me and you are probably trying to, like, instead of like web, like you're doing more with like data analyst or data scientist type role. So you're going to, of course, along with R, you're going to know SQL, of course. A lot of the other data, you know, the familiar tools dealing with data, Power BI, Tableau, and stuff like that.
Yeah, those are big, and those are your BI, your business. What's it called?
Intelligence.
Business. Thank you. Your business intelligence platform. So that's your Power BI, Tableau. There's Quire. There's Monday.com. There's and some of those aren't like, those are like project management, but they have to deal with, they can actually ingest information in from those different sources that'll help you with your projects. So like Monday.com and ClickUp are like that. And then you have, I said Tableau already. There's one more that's pretty popular. I forgot it now, but yeah, Power BI and Tableau. If you get courses on those, especially Power BI, that's a big deal.
Especially if you're gonna be dealing with the Microsoft stack. Tableau is more of the kind of everything else. Yeah, they kind of, I'm not sure. Some people, it's arguments of which one is the
more advanced
reputable tool. I don't know.
Yeah, and you know, these tools, if you start to really know them, and you're a data analyst. So Helmet Chili says, I know it came up in a data analytics course I did on Coursera. Tableau is taught too in it. And you know, these business analytics our programming, I mean, is taught. Okay, so these business analytics courses, business intelligence and data analytics things are important for businesses because it helps them project certain things. So if you could start to if you can actually have really good data sets feeding into these business intelligence platforms, they can actually do a lot for you in terms of forecasting and showing you what's probably on the other side or what's to come. Line of MGTOW, I asked because I heard that the average salary is $90K, and I used to dabble in IT before I got my CDL. It's always good to grow your skill set. Most definitely, and it depends on what you want to do. I think when it comes to, if you start to, like, one thing I've been wanting to do is like a logistics company for the longest, but a data-driven logistics company is like the shit. I mean, most logistics companies are data-driven. Actually, I want to say all of them, like especially the large ones, you know. But if you actually have good data in terms of like even weather on different routes for your trucks, and you know, measuring, not measuring, but what do they call that? Predicting and even predicting delays of certain things. Insurance companies are big when it comes to data analytics and predictions. You know, these companies like a Geico, State Farm, Liberty Mutual, you start to work in some of their data warehouses and stuff like that, or their infrastructure, you'll start to see how analytics and all this information that's coming in from all these different sources is huge. But I think, yeah, $90K, yeah, I definitely think you can get that. You definitely want to probably go to more of a data scientist role because I've seen where those That job there is definitely work from home, work from anywhere in the world, and you're looking at 6 figures for sure, because it's beyond your data analytics. Data analytics are people that come in and deal with the data to a certain extent, and then you have your engineers in between that, and then you have your actual data scientists. But data scientists is usually your math, your quants, if you will. Those guys.
That's another thing too. You got to dive into the math. I think data scientist is a higher learning curve.
Yeah.
If you is going to take it seriously, you definitely want to create a profile on Kaggle. That's kind of like the hub of a lot of data scientists.
Okay. How do you can you put a link to that in the chat? That'd be great. Because I don't know of that.
Because it's actually a few people that's kind of like on that path. Underdog. So that's how I know about Kaggle.
Okay. But yeah, and like, I mean, you know, 90K, I mean, it's cute. I'm not gonna lie. 90K is cute. I mean, I'm not gonna act like, I'm better than or anything else like that. But honestly, the new low point for a lot of jobs, and even how I'm living now, not that I can't easily go back to working off of less, but really, if you could, yeah, see, I would have like totally butchered that name. I would have used a C instead of a K. Thank you for that. Now, I mean, really, at some of these jobs, man, if you can actually be very proficient, and it may take time for you to move up to these certain points, but 120K is what a lot of brothers should be shooting for. 100K, 120K is like the new 100K. You know, Kevin Samuels, of course, always talks about 10K a month. You know, and that's like, honestly, even Glendon Cameron talks about 120K is a good job, a decent pay. You see what I'm saying? So these numbers are changing with inflation, and also if you live in cities and stuff like that. You know, 120K where I live, you know, it's just like, and you know, I could. It's easy. It's like you get any and everything you want out here.
Yes, I'm trying to get like you. See, like, cause like even though I got this job, I know like I don't feel comfortable at all. Like I don't talk about you how you know how paranoid I can get. Like I don't feel comfortable. Like so I'm finna finish up my full stack project. I'm not touching it for a while because I want to make sure I'm touching all bases, you know, doing my work and everything. But once I get comfortable, you know, getting back to, you know, finishing up my projects on GitHub, you know, staying sharp, you know, trying to stay sharp in my programming. This shit ain't safe. Now, you know, hopefully, I know I'll be rising up in pay as well. But I'm in a low ball area though. But I ain't tripping though. Like I never had no money like this. I go ahead and say I'm getting 70. I'm getting 70,000. Yeah,
hey man, listen, that's a lot for me, bro. Listen, I was talking shit, but 70K is nice. 70K is nice, especially coming from where you're coming from, what you used to do. Like even when I was like, you know, doing my businesses and stuff, like doing my business and everything. When I start to see that I was making like a 75, 80K, that changes. Your palate changes, man. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like you say, hey, listen, you don't look at things the same. Like, yo, listen, just get the most expensive one out of the two. The Sony Bravia, man. Like whatever that. Let me get the Aquos, the UHD TV. Okay, nah, I want 8K. Like, let me get that.
Yeah. You're right. I know I'm gonna hang out a little bit. I'm trying to. I don't think I'm gonna get super crazy. I used to be wild, and that's another thing too. Actually, even though I'm gonna be making more money, I don't even think I'm gonna be like super wild like I was now, you know, late teens and early 20s. I mean, I'm gonna treat myself now. Don't get me wrong.
You need less, man. You need less. You chasing less in terms of tail. You know, so on and so forth. Right. Like, you know, like you doing different things, man. So, what's it called? I wanted to look up. Our programmer. Look at our programming salaries. 91.
I definitely want to get back up with Dollar Will.
About trading.
You know, I was kind of reading into the options trade. You know, matter of fact, I know you be dealing a lot of what, you know, trading and dealing with the cryptos too.
I'm an investor, so that's usually that's more long-term stuff. And Dollar Will is a trader, so that's your short term, and like short term is relative. So at the end of the day, the way, of course, Dollar Will says it, and again, you know, you got to listen to him because he's the man with the plan and he knows it. And you know, Dollar Will, shameless plug for what he does. He does have a Patreon, so you can check him out.
Go back and pay for. I was actually in it for a little bit, but I stopped, and I told him I was going to come back, and I'm gonna keep my promise. Like,
yeah,
I am going to come back. I felt like I didn't have the money I wanted to at the time to play, to really learn it. I bought books and everything. I bought some option trading, but I kind of just put it on the side. I was like, let me just focus on the programming. And once I got some money to kind of, you know what I'm saying, really play around with, then I come back to it.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, like with him and what he does in his Patreon, he does have Saturday streams where he, you know, you can come up to his stream and talk about trading and go over charts, and he goes more in depth with it. He is starting to produce more YouTube videos as well, and that's just a small tidbit of what he can do. So our programming, I mean, like not in my city, like you ain't gonna get that here, but you can get that anywhere else. So 91K a year. But if you're a data scientist, you're looking at 127K. Now, some are actually making more than that. So your senior data scientist and your data scientist 4, which, you know, that's like high level. That's like working for very large companies. At that point, you're definitely, as a data scientist, you could be in a small company, startup, if you will, or a medium-sized company, maybe even a mortgage company. And then as a senior data scientist, that's when you start to really look at your Fortune 500 companies, your auto manufacturers, your large industrial companies and commercial products and retailers. And then your data scientist 4, at that point, you know, Google might send out people to give you blowjobs just so they can get you in the door. Like, I mean, like that seems pretty high right there, to be very honest. And that also depends on where you live, but that's you know, that's subjective.
They making so much. I actually didn't. Mike Vion had sent out an article. I couldn't read it because it was behind the paywall. But the title was, someone was like, what was the title again? Something like, I'm making like 100 and something.
180K, and I'm still underpaid. Yeah, that shit is wild. Bro, the guy said, I am making 180K and I'm still, and I as much as I feel I'm lucky, I am still underpaid. And I didn't read that.
I can, even though I couldn't read the article, I can kind of guess where he probably was going at. These companies are making, even though that's still a lot of money for so many people in the population,
that ain't shit.
These companies are making so much money off the work.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, another person in another state, or actually maybe even not as proficient as you, and line of MGTOW, it doesn't even matter where you live nowadays. It doesn't even matter, because a lot of these jobs are remote. They're embracing remote. Companies like Twitter have been remote, all remote, exclusively, no fucking offices, damn near. Maybe a couple workspaces or something like that, but no fucking offices whatsoever for a long period of time. So now a lot of companies are embracing this, because what has happened is now they have gotten out of the mindset of, like, the company I work for is out of Maryland. I live in Southeast Georgia. I live in Southeast Georgia. And even when my last job was in Sunrise, Florida, and I moved to Georgia, maintained my job, and then got another job in Maryland. You know, and so what's happening is now they've seen that their actual talent pool has exploded. Now they're like, you know, all bets are off. They don't give a fuck. It's Microsoft Teams, you know, everywhere. You could be mobile, you know.
Everybody using Slack, and like you said, Slack and Zoom. That's the combo.
Bro, Slack, Teams, my dude. Teams with Teams with a phone license. So you can actually make phone calls from Teams, bro. yo, people like, yo, this is your business phone. This is your business line. And then you can actually have a hard phone if you want to. You have the app on your phone. Even my job pays me $25 per paycheck just so I can, if I install Teams on the phone, I get $50 a month. And that's how they rocking. So when you talking about like, and I'm not getting on you, you know that. I'm just excited. LOM. You know, when you talk about you live in North Carolina, I was looking for jobs at one point in Germany. That's how I was fucking rocking it. Like I was just like, because I was like, yo, I wanted a night job, and with the time difference, some people will actually hire you overseas, or a company that's here, they'll hire you for their overseas division, and then you just wake up at, you know, in the middle of the night. So when you talk about that, you could be anywhere, really. All right. Like checking out these upcoming stock splits. And yeah, and you know, and Helmet Chili, I know you put this in when we talked about R programming and statistical programming and things like that. Yeah, that's where you would use a lot of this data analytics and data analysis and analytics are two different things. One is analysis is predictions or future trends, predicting future trends, and analytics is looking at past data. And I learned that in a very good course on udemy.com. And I think that was like 360 data scientist course or something like that. So they have full-on courses, and that was a really good course. And that's another course I didn't finish. Trey, in your guys' opinion, are the high wages found in IT and CS? Cybersecurity.
Oh, yeah, cybersecurity. Okay.
Yeah. A bubble that will eventually plateau, or will they continue to trend upward moving into the future? Let's get your thoughts first.
Nah, it ain't no bubble. Like everything is continuously to go digital. Like we just talking about we just been talking about, you know, just web and maybe what desktop software and stuff like we just touched on data scientist stuff, but you got so much other stuff going on. AI, you know, I'm big into the virtual reality stuff.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Virtual reality and augmented reality. So that's your Pokemon Go, that's those visors or glasses. You know, one company out of my own
it's just so much, that's even more fields that's still growing.
It's turning off.
Right. Yeah. And the foundation, what I should always say in the chat, is programming. Like, even though I'm not coding in none of these other fields, I'm still thinking about I might transition into virtual reality because I like it so much.
At the end of the day, it's all logic and math, and then making all those different calculations.
Like, yeah, it's just learning and I already messed with it before. The Unity, it uses C#. So you do your scripting with C# and you kind of just integrate that with a lot of the Unity tooling, which is that's a learning curve too. But I'm just throwing out. You never know though. You know, I might.
Yeah, like rendering using the Unreal Engine. If your company that you're working with is actually using the Unreal Engine, which has a pretty sometimes hefty license, depending on which one you choose. But it's such a great engine because of how it renders things and actually how it deals with physics in some cases. And I could be wrong on that.
No, Unreal sweet. Yeah, Unreal. You can't go wrong with Unreal.
No, I could
be wrong. Unreal is the top two.
I'm using it. So excuse me, but you guys can watch a lot of videos about the Unreal Engine and also physics engines and lighting engines as well.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like
I don't think it's, I'm sorry. Just to answer real quick, I don't think it's a bubble. I do think what happens though is that as we go up in terms of we advance in technology, a lot of the jobs that used to be coveted, like a system admin, is like an entry level job now because everything is so well documented. Windows, they got programs for everything. They got web interfaces. Click this, click that, running scripts. So if you're a system admin, you also need to be a coder if you want to be a high paid or high value system, a high value admin, a high value admin. If you want to be a high value admin, you need to know some type of scripting, PowerShell, or any other type of scripting, even Node.js, so you can run different applications and stuff like that. You definitely need to know that. If you want to be an engineer, you definitely need to know programming, and also you need to know different disciplines such as understanding cybersecurity and getting into that. Yeah, different cybersecurity, and then also networking. So if you're an engineer and you're then you go on to be even an architect of a solution, that's above an engineer because they're designing all these things, and they also need to be well versed on multiple disciplines. So they need to know not just Office 365 or Azure or AWS. They also need to know GCP and those different cloud platforms and other technologies and other solutions to tie all these things together. Then your engineers start to actually design a little bit more and work on that team and put these things together and start to like work out some of the kinks in that. And then your admins at the end of the day, they get what the engineers pass down to them. And if it's a bubble, no, I believe what's going to happen is an engineer is going to get paid less or be less valued. And then you're going to have to get more into like, you know, an AWS engineer or something like that. You're going to have to get a little bit more specialized. And then also with the specialty, you need to be able to move around if you want to stay in it for a long term and always have an exit plan such as a retirement.
Right. I can actually use my own family as a perfect example. All right. So all my uncles. So one of my uncles is actually not doing networking anymore because he let his skills atrophy. Me and my uncle Abdul, we were just talking about this the other day because he was congratulating me, you know what I'm saying, on finally, you know, in the industry. But we had a good long conversation. Like him, he was telling me he probably gonna be hitting me up. They forcing him to learn Python.
Yeah. Oh,
he never had to deal with programming. So
Python,
so that's two perfect examples of what can happen after, you know, both of them, as I mentioned, you know, been in the industry a long time. Yeah, still got to stay sharp after all that time, and the other one let his skills atrophy.
Yeah, and Python is one of those things where it's becoming, the word I was looking for is ubiquitous. It is permeating. You know, to use, and listen, man, you are of the ilk now, so you got to use these terms like mitigate and, you know, vulnerabilities and scanning and patching. What's it called? Patching Tuesday and understanding those terminologies and phrases and lingo. But you know, if you Python has spread to even Cisco networking devices. You have to learn how to, like, Python is, since a lot of the Nexus level Cisco networking devices are just a cut down version or using the Linux kernel, they're like cut down versions of full blown Linux OSs. They have things like grep. They have the Python is already natively on them, so you can run different scripts to do jobs. And also they also have APIs, so you have to know, you know, things like Postman, tools like Postman, so that you can actually do API calls and so on. So there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, like I live 30 minutes. I'm not sure if you're saying I live or I'm live.
He's saying he lived 30 minutes from Epic. He located.
Okay. Okay. The second one. Yeah, I live 30 minutes from Epic Games. So yeah, you're kind of like already close to that area. In terms of like, and when I say you're close to that area, I mean you could walk and be a part of, like, you know, you go to some of these cafes and night places, or these cafes where a lot of these engineers start to unwind, and, you know, some of these bars and stuff like that. You start to have conversations with these people, and next thing you know, a lot of these motherfuckers are very friendly and sociable. And they will, like, if they see that, like, you know, you pass that quote unquote test and they could see some of your work, you can get a job pretty easily, you know, and just being nice to them, being friends. It just depends on what you want to do. Yeah. Python, I wouldn't say it's tough, man.
It's supposed to be, I think. I got to deal with it now because of the job. I'm actually going to start dealing with Python too. And
I wouldn't say Python is tough.
I heard it's one of the easiest though. That's what I heard.
Exactly. It is very I want to say it's easy, and I'm gonna tell you why it's easy. It's easy because more people know about it. It's kind of like Bitcoin back in the day. Like, a lot of people didn't know about it back in like 2010, so it was very hard to get into it. But now everybody and their mama know about Bitcoin, so it's easy to find information. So same thing with Python. Again, it's ubiquitous. Like Python comes depending on like your regular run-of-the-mill installation of a Linux operating system is going to have Python already included in it, and like it's going to have maybe 3 versions of it. So yeah,
but I guess I got to deal with it.
Yeah. And what do you like? One of the last questions I want to ask, and we'll cut this off at the 3-hour mark if we make it to that point. But one of is Python. What are you using Python for? Can you get a little bit more into what you'll be doing in terms of, you know, overarching stuff like data that you're going to be working with, some of the processes that you're expected to work with that have been described to you?
Yeah, I could talk about some. They just don't want us name in the actual client. Yeah, I could talk about a lot of processes though. So Python, probably something similar to some of the ETL stuff.
Okay.
So that tool, that ignition tool I was talking about. So you have to be using Python scripts. You know, navigating a lot of values. You know, dealing with conditions. You might have to need to mutate that value to another value. Dealing with tags. I'm speaking to the actual tool. So a lot of it is navigating tag values, database values, and a lot of property values. That's what I've been going through the training so far. Yeah, so far it seems like I'm finna just be dealing with that, not a lot of the custom stuff, actual, you know, from scratch programming just yet. Right now, he just got us dealing with that. I guess custom stuff come later on. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna be using the Python for. I already know SQL. That's gonna help me out a lot dealing with this tool too. He was saying that I will need to do some the stuff I know with SQL. He says definitely gonna help me out. So which I can already see navigating through the training with the tool and stuff.
Yeah, another shout out to SubZero and what he does.
Yeah.
But
oh yeah, but no, my bad. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. It's your part. I apologize.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, so the data. So you get the data from, all right, so let's say we're in a warehouse, you got independent machinery, none of them are connected together. You might have like a CNC mill over here. You might have like a conveyor belt over here. You might have, I'm thinking about some actual manufacturer I work for, Old Castle. So they had CNC mills. So I can actually think about how even they was doing it now. That I'm here, I can see how all that was kind of like coming together now. So all of these different machinery is going to have PLC controllers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so PLC controllers. So we're going to have to take that data that them PLC controllers have, take all that data, put it in some software that the managers and operators, that they can see real time, because if they not, then you're manually getting all this data, you know what I'm saying, from all the isolated different machineries in your warehouse. But about time you put all that together to see some data, to get some information about what's going on in your warehouse, you're already behind. Your production is still steady going.
Yep.
So you need some software where you can see everything in real time. So that's what my company does.
Well, and in terms of PLC controllers and that technology, it's really dumb and it's not very secure. So you have to do these things, but in some cases it's also very performant, of course, right? It's like really low level programming. It's like do this, do this, do this, do this, but it does this over and over and over again and can actually do it really fast in terms of, you know, its instructions. But the thing is also it's not very secure. So you have to have things in front of it or in between it. And this is like, you know, when it comes to like, you know, nuclear plants and stuff like that, how they have these data breaches and stuff like that. Some of that stuff is like some of the code is PLC code, if you will, and it's in so many different ways.
And that's another thing too. I'm coming at it like a perfect time with this company because like they're growing and yeah, you know, he already told me. He already gave me like a trajectory of the money I can get just staying with them. Instead of, you know, how I know a lot of people like to jump around.
Yeah. So, and it's, you know, it's good. Like you know, it's good because, you know, sometimes the only way you can get a raise is one. No, some of the easiest way, one of the easiest ways to get a raise is just move to another company, and they know that. And it also depends on what you're doing. Another thing is, what I get is, you know, my boss will ask me, do you feel fulfilled? Like the work that you're doing, do you want to be here? That's another thing. Like these motherfuckers will give you work. Like there's the work that they want you to do, but then it's like, are you doing the work that you want to do? And they understand. Some companies really understand that, because a lot of people will leave and they'll be like, listen, it's not you, it's not more pay. It's just you're not doing the things that I want to do. And they'll be like, we can move you to another department. Like they'll do that to keep talent.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you brought up earlier as well is, and you know, it's evident in what some of the things you're doing, but you brought up earlier talking about reading other people's code, going through GitHub, looking at, you know, the stuff that other people are doing, other projects, because now you have to start looking at and dissecting this Python code that you didn't create from scratch, but now you have to modify and maybe even modify and refine.
Oh yeah, right. That's actually definitely a good point. Like you say, a lot of times you're going to be, like you say, either going through someone else's code, trying to fix bugs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it ain't, a lot of times you're not really, you know, starting from scratch when you're coming into a job. So,
right,
yeah, you know, reading code definitely helps out. It definitely helped me out a lot. You know, I learned a lot.
Yeah, and one thing you can do is when you're getting into these places, sometimes they like the input of the new person because that's the new eye on the project. And T. Smith, I'll get to your comment because I think it's a very poignant comment here, or important comment. Like for instance, when I got into my current job, it was very simple, but I was, you know, they put a problem to me and they were like, well, you know, these names, the names of these host names get chopped off. So I started thinking about it. I was like, well, why don't we just have a naming standard? We already have one, but just let's make a shorter one. So anything that says TST is test. Well, let's just make it T. Like just truncate that. And then like, okay, well, what environment is it? Is it in Azure or is it in Google? It's like, well, A or G, you know, and then now we have another one. So it's just another letter. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, well then how do we separate that? And then when you start to actually make these naming standards, now I can actually code based off of those naming standards. If I can make a regular expressions that says, if it's TST or P as the first character, now I know that is, or T, I should say, as the first character. Now I know that's the test environment or the production environment. And I can actually make code that does things based off of the host name for that actual device. And now that we have that organized, now I can actually do things to that's you know, since I have a standard, I can actually make predictions and make changes based off of that standard, which is, you know, it's really big. So you come into this, you start to see this code and you see it's all over the place. Now you as a newbie, if they don't have it already, I would tell you to say, hey, listen, I've been looking at this code and I see it's kind of all over the place. You guys are using different types of loops. I can see there's a lot of people working on this code base, and it's changed over time. But I do think we need a coding standard. We can use the Google coding standard. We could use the Twitter coding standard.
Airbnb is a good one that a lot of people use too.
Yeah.
Airbnb. Because my mentor, we was actually going through the Airbnb. This was last year, in the last the Airbnb code stuff.
And that can show your value, like your value to the team, because if you actually introduce this and walk people through it, and then they can start to see the benefits, then you can be like, listen, this is how we write loops from now on. So now anytime anybody works on another piece of code, they automatically, instinctively know how to write loops for that code.
Well, you also got like what it is, Prettier and ESLint that automatically just formats a lot of that shit too. Because they know everybody, even telling them, people still gonna be fucking up. Still,
yeah, and having those tools in your I think in your pipeline, your coding pipeline, CI/CD, so continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline, even having it at the end user or the end coder level or developer level, where it's ES linted before they even actually can commit it. And then it gets spit back automatically. So it doesn't even get committed as a branch or anything. So you don't even waste the time of your project manager to look at this fucked up code, you know? And then you can actually, with linting, you can actually define your own standards as well. So we'll say this last thing here. So T Smith, great content, guys. Thank you so much for that, man. Way to keep the community informed and learn how to make those connections to get to the next step in your career. Getting in front of the right people makes all the difference. And I'll let you have your that'll be our last thing here, and your thoughts on that and anything else that you want to talk about, man. But thank you so much for your time. But
no problem, man. Yeah, man. I fought with a lot of dudes in the space. You, like I said, a lot Black Brain Trust, SubZero, of course. Some other people in the space I can't think of right now, but yeah, man. I agree with T Smith. Yeah, there's definitely, like I said, I think the networking, putting in the work, the combination of whatever programming language you choose, learn it deeply. You're gonna have to get into like some leak codes, like the main one. But there's other platforms where you can just practice problem solving and creating a portfolio, creating projects. GitHub is your best bet. So that trifecta of problem solving practice, creating some projects, networking. That is lit right now.
Hey man, sometimes as simple as making a calculator or making a financial application that tracks your portfolio, like I was doing at one point, or even making a self-driving lawnmower to get into hardware and stuff like that. You know, like there's a lot of things you can do. Guys, I'm here as a source. You can hit me up on my comments. I usually get to them pretty quickly. Some I take a little while on. I apologize for that. But I usually answer my comments because simply put, there aren't a lot. Trey, great stream. Thank you for your time and wisdom. I appreciate you too, man, for joining. Line of MGTOW, thanks for the info. It's far more valuable than relationship grifters who are pimping brothers in the Manosphere. And yeah, we're seeing that a lot, man. You know, for me, this is a passion project because this space has helped me and even my family and myself in terms of my own growth a lot. And we can even see, you know, right fucking here, Richard Dixon, man.
Yeah, it helped me, you know. Like I say, I always got to shout out space, even with my criticism. It did help me. I needed I needed Black Brain Trust. I think that was probably the most valuable out of this space to me personally. So Black Brain Trust. But and other conversations too. You know, there's a lot of good conversation in other places. I really enjoyed. Really, you know, yeah. I think you know, the space always been super crazy. You know, it ain't nothing new. They've been saying it's over with and all that crazy shit.
Listen, man, like BGS said,
it's always been like that.
Yeah, chew the meat, spit out the bone, man. Like not everything you have to go to war for or, you know, go at people on. Some things you just have to be like, oh, the space is imploding. I guess it's Tuesday. Like, you know,
I came to peace with it. Like, I used to be super hard on like trying to make everybody think like me. Everybody need to be nationalist, Pan-Africanist. I just accept it for what it is. I go to the nationalism, Pan-African spaces for that. You know, it is what it is with this space. That's just where I'm at with it now.
The lovely thing about this space is it's built on emotion, but that emotion has healed a lot of brothers, myself included, and helped me get through a lot of things and also shape my worldview. And that stuff that is ever evolving and, you know, getting stronger and stronger by the day. In terms of the mental strength that I actually have to get through some of the things. I have some things that I personally deal with in terms of what I would like to see, I mean, I got a nice home. I got some land here. I'm right next to a school. Bitch, I need to be in some PTA meetings. I need to have some motherfucking kids. Some little motherfuckers that could be like, bitch, go to fucking bed. Like, you know, some shit like that. I really want that. But sometimes you do have to understand that there are brothers that are in worse situations that need your help, and that you can also help yourself through them as well, because like Black Ram 313 says, this is therapeutic, you know, like this is helping a lot of brothers and helping them get through some really tough times.
And you know, I'm glad you said that. That's something I got to remember too. Mm-hmm. I do kind of always kind of therapy. Some old, you know, why I can go on forever about this.
Yeah.
Some, like you said, some brothers really did need this. Everybody didn't come from a neighborhood where, you know, maybe it was just like that where I was at. Because, I mean, even though somebody would call me a pookie, like,
yeah,
I wasn't even really out there like that. I mean, later on, yeah. But I know, and this speaks, that's why I think, you know, I talked about this before, the complexity of Black men.
Yep.
Because I remember my neighborhood, yeah, you had some, I mean, yeah, you could say it was lame. I don't like that term.
Mm-hmm.
Someone so-called cool. But like I say, I remember everybody, no matter what you think you would call them, like everybody still kind of like had some respect. Everybody still was getting women. But I'm just like, maybe that just wasn't happening everywhere. I think location matters too. And I will say, even though I'm critical of Jacksonville, I think it might be because I don't know if this is an issue. Like being down here in Orlando, like I just feel like Black people just don't have as much power and say so, like here in Orlando compared to Jacksonville. Like Jacksonville has a lot of crime, but it is a lot of Black people doing well too, though.
Yeah,
so that's something that actually gets overlooked. Like Black people got like a lot more power in Jacksonville. Like,
well, I will say this, and we can do another stream about this and talk more about it. Actually, we can talk about it. I might be down in that area this weekend. We'll see. I just go down there and hang out with my homeboy and his kids, and I definitely want to link you up with him as well. Now that you're making money, we got to make sure you can spend it in the right spots.
Right.
In terms of
I'm with that.
Yeah, in terms of investing, this is a brother that makes probably close to $200,000 a year. Good friend of mine, and I'm always sleeping on his couch. But one of the last things I'll say to close out the stream is, Black men were onions. You know, we have a rough outer exterior. We have many layers. As you cut through some of the layers, you may cry. But at the end of the day, when you mix it with other things and other ingredients, it comes out to be a very good meal. And that's like the community in a sense, if we can actually have that brotherhood. So as you can see, that's what's happening with Richard and I, Mike V, Complex Design, BGS, Edward Anderson. You know, we're coming together and we're cooking. We're definitely cooking. We're making fucking meals, and the dish is success, baby. Like the dish is fucking success. And I just want everybody, man, like who's just clap emojis for our brother Richard, who is now, he's a nerd. He's a part of the ilk. You know, he's one of those guys, man. So definitely,
yeah, I done graduate. I'm not just like trouble ass niggas in the chat.
Listen, you becoming a Henry, high value man, baby. Like his tens are better. I don't cheat. I exercise my options, bitch. Like what? It is what it is.
Matter of fact, let me show my face too. Like, you still a troll, nigga. You ain't showing your face.
Yeah. Hey, only if you want to, man. Oh shit.
Let me see. We in here.
Yeah. Hey man, thank you so much, bro. I appreciate that. And you know, it's a big thing for us to talk about this and go through this. And yeah, we'll link up. But guys, thank you so much for, you know, staying on a 3-hour stream. Me sometimes blabbing too much, and you know, Richard talking about his experience and going through this stuff, guys. You know, this is a big fucking thing, and this is a big deal, and this is something that I am celebrating, and we should continue to celebrate, and we should continue to you know, come together as a community and make, you know, the dish of success, man. So yeah, man. Helmet Chili, big up yourself. Trey, he's got claps. Helmet Chili, he's got claps. D Stu, he's got claps for you, and congratulations, man. So thank you so much, man. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Richard, peace to you, brother. Thank you.
Nah, no problem, man. Appreciate you, man. Like I said, you big inspiration, helped me out a lot. You know, man, anything I can do, you know, I'm willing to do it, bro.
Hey, man. Hey, listen, I'm gonna hold you to it. We gotta get more brothers making more money. Yeah,
that's real. I'm on it, trust me. I'm working on somebody right now. I gotta get them right. But, yeah.
All right. Peace, guys. Good night.
Peace.